your regularly scheduled program to bring you history. History is happening right now, and we're going to talk about it. The phone number, if you want to be part of the conversation, I'm going to be asking various questions. You feel free to jump in at any time. It's the same one we use during the week. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. President Trump survives in an assassination attempt. Information is coming in. We'll pass it along and keep you updated on history. History is happening right now. My first guest is Coley Stimson from the Heritage Foundation. Welcome to WBAP, Mr. Stimson. First things first is, do we know anything about the shooter thus far?
Seems to be a male. Looks like he's dead. Looks like he was on the rooftop outside the perimeter. And multiple shots he took at the president. Unfortunately, it killed this gentleman in the crowd through and through in his head, apparently, and injured a couple, at least one, if not two other people. Multiple eyewitnesses, including a ER doc, tried to assist the gentleman who was shot through the head, but he's dead. And the doc said he was dead multiple times to many interviews. So I don't think we know much more. I'm sure the identity of the shooter is known by the Secret Service, even probably local police, but they're keeping it under wraps for now. And hopefully it's only one person. Hopefully there's only a lone wolf, because obviously the investigation is going to have to look at all aspects of this, see whether there are any connections between him and anyone else. And hopefully it was a domestic person and not a foreign actor, because that would really change the course of this investigation.
Well, me, like a lot of people, have been going over this video with a fine-tooth comb over and over and over. We've watched this, and it looks like at the moment of the shooting, Donald Trump turns his head to the right just a little bit. Now, if it was going to be a headshot that turned into a graze wound on his ear, that would tell me the angle probably came from his right. I don't know if it's like 45 degrees, but, like looking generally to his right. Am I reading too much into this? Am I going too fast, or is that what you see too?
You're spot on. I've seen the graphics now on several news sites, an aerial photograph schematic of where the rally was, and then where the rooftop of this building, which was outside the perimeter, was. And you're right, it's to the right of the president, hundreds of feet, if not a few hundred yards away. And you're right, he had his head turned to the right. Then he turned a little bit back towards center, and then to the right again, and that's when the shots rang out. And, we don't know what kind of scope, if any person had on the rifle. I suspect he had to have a scope. You're not going to use iron sights from that far away. And so, whether the hand of God helped him or just his head turning helped him, he obviously, the shooter missed. Thank God.
Well, people say any old Yahoo can just get on a building and take a shot like that. But I'm a guy who has shot plenty of guns my entire life, and I wouldn't even attempt a shot at like that. And of course, not at a president, but like at a pumpkin. There's no way I could hit anything from what is as far as they look like. So does this lend to the idea that this guy is trained in some sort, a military veteran or something?
I don't know. We don't have any information yet. I was ironically at the range today. I grew up on a farm. I grew up with guns. I was shooting at a 300-yard range today with 6.5 Creedmoor and an AR. Both have scopes. And I was, because I was in the Navy for 30 years and I'm an expert marksman, I was hitting within a quarter of an inch. But this takes decades to get that good. I'm not bragging at all. I'm pretty average.
Right. And and just for a nice little bit of context there, I am just some Yahoo from Bug Tussle who grew up shooting on a farm. I couldn't do that from 100 yards, what you just described. Not, but within a quarter of an inch consistently? No, not from 100.
Right. And I miss sometimes. There's no wind. There's obviously an elevation drop, but when you have a 6.5 Creedmoor, it's a fast, flat round. Apparently this was an AR style rifle, but we don't know what the caliber was or the grains of the ammo.
I don't trust the media for 5 seconds on their description of any weapon in the history of ever.
Yeah, well, an AR style means scary looking to liberals.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you want me to translate for everybody, but So we don't know yet. Okay, we don't know if he had a bipod. We don't know if he had a sandbag. We don't know what he did to secure the weapon. We don't know what kind of weapons training he had, if any. And so it's just way too early to find that out. But the Secret Service knows who this guy is. And hopefully it's just one person and he's not connected to others. But if he is, I hope they get to the bottom of this and get those people rounded up quick. But I will say this. I mean, here you are outside the perimeter, but you have an elevated surface, a roof, a flat roof, by the way. It was a pole barn, which is a relatively flat roof on this thing. Why wasn't that building secured? Or was it? We don't know. Why have we seen videos recently of the counter snipers pointing in his direction, and within milliseconds of him squeezing off his rounds, the counter snipers takes him out? Why is the guy who interviewed with the BBC saying, hey, we saw a guy on the roof, we were telling the local cops, and for 2 or 3 minutes we were pointing at him, and they were calling the Secret Service? Why'd that happen? So there's a lot of explaining to do here. I think the head of the Secret Service is going to be under immense pressure. And if there were failures,
well,
Coley Stimson, have to fire people.
Let's talk about that, because this is the one important thing about talking to somebody like yourself, because I've heard the speculation online, but I'm in no way qualified or have any experience to lend credence to the idea that the Secret Service was slipping, or that there was clearly some error in law enforcement. I've always assumed if you go to like an open air place with a whole bunch of variables, that really at any event someone can slip through the cracks. But was this really such a sloppy lockdown?
We don't know. They could have done it by the book. I mean, anytime you put yourself in an open air situation like that, there's no such thing, from what I've heard from Secret Service folks, of a perfectly 100% secure evolution.
Right.
And
that's a better way to say what I was trying to say.
I didn't serve the Secret Service. I didn't serve the Secret Service. I've worked with some of them on their forensic crime scene investigations when I was a homicide prosecutor in D.C. But I mean, we just don't know. We don't know, to quote my old boss, Don Rumsfeld. We just don't know yet.
Well, something you said that I didn't know yet
we'll find out.
Is that the Secret Service knows who this guy is. They know, they've identified him and know his background.
That's my guess. I'm not basing on any facts or information I've heard, but I mean, no doubt they've rolled his fingers onto an electronic pad to see if his fingerprints are in any database. No doubt they've taken his DNA and run that through CODIS, which is the national DNA database. They've probably run it up. They've probably run his information through Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act to see whether he's had any contact with bad actors overseas. Remember, that's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act program that allows us to surveil and listen to bad actors reasonably believed to be overseas, non-Americans. And so no doubt they're spinning up everything we have to get a beat on everything they can find out about this guy. And hopefully, there's pictures out there floating around now of a guy who was allegedly the guy on the roof who was killed. Now, if that's true, people who knew him will no doubt surface very shortly. So I'm sure the people doing the pointing into the spear in this investigation already know who this guy is. No doubt about it.
Well, one of the let's start batting down some flies here, because there's a lot of baseless speculation, and that's part of what we do on this show. But we can start eliminating some of these variables. The idea that it was maybe a foreign state actor, I've seen that thrown out there, and I tend to not believe that, because he's not the president. And so why would they shoot a guy who may be president? Or maybe they're doing this on behalf of Biden, but that doesn't sound right. Any chance this could be an assassination attempt from like a Putin or an Iran or someone else?
I don't think that we can rule anything out at this point in time, although I don't give myself permission to speculate like that.
I understand. That's kind of my domain. I'm just wondering if like you had some military or law enforcement expertise that where you've seen some evidence that could rule that out or make that not likely.
I have no inside information. I did serve 30 years in the Navy and served as Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary in charge of all the terrorist detainees we had in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Gitmo. But nothing I'm reading or seeing leads me to believe that we should draw any conclusions about who he is, who he's connected to, if anybody, or whether there's any foreign influence at all. I can tell you this, just as a political matter, that if this guy was an illegal alien and he was deported once or twice or came in under Biden's watch, there would be significant ramifications for that.
Right. Well, listen, look, with your background, you're a perfect guy to ask this. Should there be some significant security changes? We have the Republican National Convention starting tomorrow. Now, layman guy out here in the middle of nowhere, me, thinks, no, you shouldn't show any fear. They had an attempt. It didn't work. There's no way they would try it again. And you don't want to cower at this moment. You want to go ahead with business as usual because that's what they want you to do. What would you say?
No doubt the Secret Service and local law enforcement and state law enforcement in Milwaukee and also Illinois, because the Dems follow suit later on with their convention, will reassess every aspect of this and then decide what, if any, changes they need to put in place. And I'm sure, President Trump, as you could see with his fist bump in the air, is going to want to have as much exposure as he can. And of course, there's always that age-old tension between a president who wants to be closer to the people, at least most do, and the Secret Service is like, Mr. President, you just can't do that, or we recommend you don't do that. And I've read a bunch of books where presidents say, "Who's the boss here?" In some instances, and the Secret Service says, "Well, you're the boss, sir, but we strongly recommend X, Y, and Z." And the president, "Thank you for your input, appreciate it. I'll take the risk." But obviously, the risk was real. It was almost deadly. We almost had an assassination of a president, a former president. And so there's zero doubt in my mind that they're reassessing every aspect of the political, of the security perimeters. There's multiple layers to it for the RNC and the DNC conventions. They have to.
Coley Stimson, thank you very much for spending some time on a Saturday night on such short notice. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Now I want to hear from you because I have some questions for you. First off, who did this? Because it's easy to say, look, it's a political assassination attempt. We know it was someone who hates him politically. I mean, we don't know that. We don't know that. The last time this happened was Ronald Reagan. I don't remember it. I was barely alive. And it turned out to be John Hinckley, who was just a crazy person, a psychopath that was trying to get the attention of Jodie Foster and because he loved her or something. How'd that work out? Did he end up winning her over? What's that? Oh, she's gay. Oh, boy, that's awkward. So the last time we had the closest historic analog to this, it really wasn't that political. However, if we have ourselves a political actor, I think it's time to, and really whether it's political or not, this is a good time to all stop down. And can we just stop with the Nazi talk? Can we stop with because I spent a lot of time on the James Show this week talking about the overhyping of Project 2025 and acting like this is going to take away all your rights and going to put you back in chains. And it was going to be the Dante's third, maybe fourth level of hell. That's not doing anybody any good, but also it's going to have negative consequences on the side. You're scaring the crap out of people. And if this is politically motivated, I mean, I'm not saying Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow and Jake Tapper all have blood on their hands, but that's what they say about you. That's what they said about you after Gabby Giffords got shot by a guy who's a psychopath, not politically motivated, doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's just crazy like John Hinckley was. But you got the blame for that. You get the blame for some of the mass shootings where they think for a while that the shooter matches your political persuasion. Never does, by the way. You get blamed for everything going back to stuff that happened before the Civil War. You get blamed for it. And then we have this. Oh, if this is a political actor, the election's over. I was telling Miss Parker earlier, do you remember after 9/11 when the people that ran their mouth called you racist, called this country terrible, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, whatever, back in the day? Wasn't that nice how they shut up for about 2 years after 9/11? There wasn't any of that flag burning going around. There wasn't any of that George Bush is a Nazi. George Bush is literally Hitler. We got a break from that for like 2 years. And it was nice. And we need to go back to that. We all need to tap the brakes. This was on yesterday's show. I was saying nobody's Hitler but Hitler. And anybody that calls someone else Hitler, That should be like using the N-word when you're falsely exploiting the suffering and death of 6 million of our Jewish neighbors, plus some other people that got rolled up into the final solution. When you're exploiting that just to score some points against someone's for a political purpose, that's not a harmless act. That's not something we need to stop just shrugging our shoulders. And when you're called horrible things, just be like, I promise you I'm not. I promise you I'm not racist. I promise you I'm not Hitler. I promise you I'm not trying to genocide the Palestinians or whatever the lie is today. But this whole idea where you get called some sort of genocidal, like you want to genocide the Palestinians, like you want to genocide, like you really are all these things. You really are as bad as Hitler. And look, the hyperbole. I get it. If you're telling a joke and you're a comedian, cool. But if you're on anything that says news in the title, if you're on cable news network, if you're on MSNBC, if you're doing Fox News, that's not a place for it. That has to stop. And if we find out this guy is a political actor, Trump won. It's over. Fight.
The Dockles has your social security number. The power.
Hey, you dropped off. Everything okay?
Service has your
Yeah,
payment
I hear
info
you.
and
What
last
happened?
3 addresses.
I don't know. Too silent, like silent for a long period of time.
Billions of data points every second.
Well, I'm here now.
If your
You don't hear
identity's
this?
stolen, they'll fix it.
Okay, yeah. Hang on a second. We'll be back to you in 30 seconds.
Okay.
You're with promo code.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, you just went silent for way too long.
What the heck?
24
I don't know.
It must be a bandwidth
Concealed
thing.
Carry Association.
Could be.
You with
All right.
firearms education, training,
keep an
and
eye on it.
access to self-defense liability insurance.
At least we didn't have too much dead air, but the dead air meter did go off, so it was longer than a usual pause.
For radio
Where did I
listeners,
cut off at?
Go to defendfamily.com to get a.
I don't know. I was showing him how to do the phones, and then all of a sudden you went silent, and I'm like, is he trying to breathe right now?
Well, I
crap.
didn't
Okay,
hit a
here we go.
button.
Ready? Here we go. You're up.
Welcome back. Continuing coverage, WBAP, the attempted assassination of former President Trump. He's doing a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, just 3.5 hours ago. Shot rang out. He grabbed his ear. 2 more shots rang out. He goes down. Secret Service cover him up. You hear a flurry of gunshots, which we just assume is the attempted assassin being unalived. He stands up with the security guard doing the meat shield around him. You know what I'm talking about? The meat shield? They have some sort of formation like a rugby scrum where like 6 of them get like they lock their arms around him and they walk him off the stage. But he stops him for a second, puts his fist in the air, pumps it 3 times, says fight, fight, fight. The image of him, there's already a picture. You've already seen it on your phone if you've been scrolling, if you've even checked it in the last 3 hours. There's an image of him going off the screen. He's got blood going down his face. He's got 2 channels of blood coming down to his cheek toward his mouth. It looks like he's saying F, like the consonant F. He's got his fist in the air, and there just happens to be in the background a flowing American flag. It's waving over a perfectly blue sky. That picture is a Pulitzer already. That picture is going to be the one that's in your grandkids' textbook by the time they get to high school. That picture is iconic. That picture just won the election. It's amazing. You get to see this in real time. And you're going to hear stories about this. There's going to be follows up when, we find out who this guy and where he was and who he's from or who he was with or what was he part of any other association or whatever. That's the picture that you're going to pull up. They call it B-roll when you're in TV. We got to have some B-roll. And so when they talk about Trump or the assassination, that's going to pop up. But when they have to run the B-roll at the end of this guy's life, whenever Trump does, it makes it to 100 or something. Whenever he does pass away, that picture is going to be in every in memoriam montage that you see. That picture is amazing. And it's crazy that it just happened today. I mean, like, what were you doing today? You didn't think history was going to happen? You didn't think history was going to just blow up in front of your face and you were going to see an attempted presidential assassination. Something that we haven't really come this close to since Ronald Reagan in, what was that, 1981? I mean, how rare is this? Gerald Ford had a couple of attempts. That was scary. That was a goofy time. We know about JFK and a few others, but I mean, I don't remember when it happened to Reagan. I was like 3. Okay. You may, I don't. I've never seen anything like this. I've never had to cover anything like this. I want to ask you, who do you think did it? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. And don't just say it's some guy who hates Trump, because the question is why? Because we don't know. You don't know, but we can try and figure this out together. There's some options that make sense. Check this out. It is a guy who is a John Hinckley style. He's just a psychopath. He's not even necessarily politically motivated. It's just psychopaths focus on public figures because that draws their attention, and then they just kind of do their little OCD focus on the guy. Is it a politically minded person? Is it someone who did this because they're scared that Project 2025 is going to put us all in the Handmaid's Tale and all the women are going to have to run around dressed like ketchup bottles under the second Trump term? Is this someone working on behalf of a foreign state? Is this someone like, hey, I like Biden being in office. I don't want Trump getting back in office because he's going to end all my fun. So let me go ahead and take him out. I mean, tell me, is it a Putin? Is it a Xi Jinping from China? Is it a Zelensky? Zelensky kind of has a nice incentive to keep Biden in office. I think he has a few $billion in incentives to keep this guy not only staying in office, but keeping Trump out. Trump's the reason. I mean, that relationship, that the Ukraine is the pretext for the first Trump impeachment. Remember that? So is he going to come spoil the fun? There's a motive. China probably doesn't want him coming back into power because China did not enjoy having Trump on the other side of the Pacific from him. Who else could it be? Iran? Iran, they like when you have a Democrat up there that's going to give them billions of dollars. It's going to just float them pallets of cash. All you got to do is pretend to take some sailors hostage and go through a little bit of quid pro quo and just say some words to the media and we'll give you billions of dollars. That game stopped under Trump. You can see why Iran would not want him to be president again. So who do you think it is? And I want to talk to you. I'm not just going to talk to other experts. I want to talk to you. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. That's the big question. Who did this? Why did they do it? Another thing that we all need to keep in the front of our mind is there were people who were saying this was going to happen. I could tell you that I said it, and I did say it. I could tell you some other people kind of hinted at it, like, you're going to keep escalating the rhetoric to Trump, and some crazy person is going to act on it. And you didn't say that. You probably said it, and you didn't say that based on, you just wanted to make the other side sound evil. You saw what happened with the Bernie Sanders volunteer at the Republican baseball practice. You saw what happened. Rand Paul had ribs broken. The violence that happened against him from his neighbor who beat the snot out of him. You've seen these other political actors get a little nutty. I mean, you've seen all the trans shooters lately. These people are getting fired up against you. They think that you're a hate-filled bigot that wants to ruin their lives or genocide them or erase their existence. I'll give you another example. Tucker Carlson, about 6 months ago, I think this was on the Adam Carolla podcast. Listen to this. Who's saying?
They called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that. But I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them they just can't have him.
All right, so listen to me on this one. For the last few months, or even you could even count years in there, you've had one side of the aisle saying what Tucker was saying, what I've said. Well, you've heard from other people on WBAP saying is you need to tone down the rhetoric, stop calling Trump Hitler, because you're going to inspire some violence. Some people are going to believe you, and some people are going to act accordingly. You've been told by the other side of the media aisle. You've been warned about what? What have you been hearing so much about in the last 2 weeks, especially since the immunity case? We were making jokes about it on the James Show, for the last 2 weeks, all the right-wing death squad talk. Remember that right-wing death squad? Look out. There's crazy right-wingers who are so bigoted and recalcitrant in their political positions. They're willing to commit violence. We got to look. They're Christo-fascists. Colbert called you Christo-fascist this week, Stephen Colbert. And in a comedy show, by the way. That's supposed to be a comedy show. You have Gretchen Whitmer scaremongering on Stephen Colbert's show this week. This is just from the James Show that I was telling you. Warning that, remember, they tried to kill me in Michigan. There was 14 guys. Yeah, and 8 of them were feds. And they were like, hey, if it comes down to it, we might have to just do more than talk. And some guy said, yeah, okay. And they're like, see, they want to kill the governor. You've been warned by them about right-wing violence. And what's the term they keep using over and over? Right-wing death squads. Right-wing death squads is what you've been warned about for the last 2 weeks. From MSNBC and NBC even. And where did the violence come from? What side of the aisle? Were they right again? No, they weren't right. Just like they weren't right about any of these things. Just like they hadn't been right about climate change predictions. Just like they weren't right about the vaccine or mask, or like they weren't right about repealing net neutrality. They haven't been right about the inflation being transitory. None of this stuff. Why would they be right now? So while you've been told for the last 2 weeks after this horrible SCOTUS decision, Trump's now a king and he can just take people out. Really? Because that's what you told me. And then today happened. So you told people you need to be scared because there's right-wingers who now have carte blanche to take people out. And they just tried to take out Trump. It's like, damn, you're not supposed to take your own bad advice. That is, I'm not trying to say that's scary, but it should be concerning. And if you think I'm making this up, Trump immunity means right-wing death squads. Oh, I've got receipts. It's not like I'm just saying this out of thin air. Couple things. How much of the stuff that we say the term mainstream media, but the lefties in the media, how much stuff did they report the exact opposite comes to be true? Russia collusion, net neutrality.
Hey, not to interrupt you, but we got to go to news at some point.
So that's the first point. The other point is all those people owe Donald Trump, Republicans, you, the American people, they owe them all an apology. But I want to hear what you think. Who did this? Why they did it? What should happen next? 800-288-9227. 800-288 9227. I'm James Parker from The James Show, normally weekdays 2 to 5, but now doing special coverage as Trump survives an attempted assassination today. History is happening now. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
This is a breaking news alert from News Talk 820 WBAP.
And now on FM at 93.3.
Former President Trump shot in an assassination attempt. I'm Eric Bushman from the WBAP 24/7 News Desk. Shots fired at former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, in what is being investigated as an assassination attempt.
Everything good over there?
He says he was shot. He said he heard a whizzing sound
Yep.
and felt a bullet rip through his skin. He says a bullet.
All right, we got a couple calls down here. We're trying to send you the call list.
No, I see it.
Social.
I've got
The Secret
the call
Service
screen
says-
over here.
You got, oh, okay, good. I don't have to say, okay, good.
Yeah, you sent
All
me
right,
to
you
that
should-
for the last couple of remotes.
That's right. I forgot about that. I
Yeah.
forgot you want a remote.
900
Okay.
net.
Cool. All right, good.
Yeah, what do you recommend? Take Tyler first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and take them in order. They're all pretty good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You got it. Let me know if you need anything else.
Do I have an ETA? How long till I come back?
I'd say maybe 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll
if
just
you have
stand
to
here.
go to the bathroom or something, if you're not back, we can just play spots until you get back.
Okay. I don't have to, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man.
No problem.
And it is so destructive to our country and to our politics.
President Joe Biden also condemning the attack.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
Biden returning to Washington early from Delaware in the wake of the suspected attempted assassination on the former president. Again, the former president wounded, but not critically. He is issuing statements. One person at the rally was killed. 2 others were critically injured, and the shooter was shot and killed by the Secret Service. Again, you are listening to News Talk 820 WBAP, Fort Worth, Dallas, 93.3 WBAP FM, Haltom City.
All right, we're coming back in.
MHD2, KPLX, Fort Worth, Dallas.
Are you there?
Simulcast on
I'm
570
here.
KLIF.
All right, we're coming in.
CSFM HD2,
Just say
Fort
go.
Worth, Dallas. I'm Eric Bushman. Your next update from me will be in
All right, 5, 4. Give him a moment. Just he's been call. All right, you're back on.
Welcome back. Continuing coverage, WBAP special edition. Trump survives an assassination attempt. History is happening right now. I want to talk to you about it. A lot of questions are in the air. Who did it? Why did he do it? And we can even start extrapolating out from here. You know, we know the coast is clear. We know the situation's over. We can start looking forward. And, I looked at Miss Parker today, and we both had the same reaction. We were like, dude, election over. And look, I'm not like gloating, like, haha, this is great. Now we're going to win the election, or now Trump's going to beat him. But seriously, if this turns out to be a politically motivated actor, that the election is over. And whether you like it for better or for worse, you can write that one down. And if me and Miss Parker, like within like the first 30 seconds, it was. Hi, Miss Parker. All right. So if you have any comments, 800-288-9227. Let's go to Tyler in Dallas. Or is it Dallas in Tyler? You're on WBAP. What do you think?
I think this is, I think it goes back to George Soros. Personally, I think this, we're going to find that this is someone far left leaning extremist, probably back to Antifa or something like that. And I think Soros and his crew that are kind of calling the shots with everything that has turned to hell in the country the past few years have seen that, they're failing with their lawfare efforts. He's clearly going to be the nominee. It looks like he's going to be elected. And my gut is saying that, this was their last ditch effort to prevent that from ever happening.
Okay. So the other question though is of course it's a guy who hates Trump, but is he a psycho like John Hinckley, or is he politically motivated like the Bernie bro guy that shot up the baseball game or the baseball practice for the Republicans, the one that shot Steve Scalise?
Yeah, no, I think this guy, and my gut is that he has to be politically motivated, just with everything going on around Trump. And then just going into detail about the attempted shot, how far away he was, the fact that you were talking about earlier with the expert, the skill needed to try that. I do think he probably has prior experience, and I think that was known, and that individual may have been selected for that reason by, whoever is giving him his orders.
Yeah, it sounds like you're looking at what's his name, Lee Harvey Oswald situation, where he was a crazy communist and the CIA just sort of steered him in the right direction. Is the theory?
Yeah, and Soros obviously different from CIA, but I would not eliminate that someone within the deep state being involved in some capacity.
Well, bro, what was it, 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago? The CIA came out and said, yeah, it's time to release the Kennedy documents. I guess it was last year because it was like the 50th anniversary or whatever, 60th anniversary or whenever they had to lock it up. And they admitted, they're like, yeah, we weren't totally uninvolved. We didn't do the Kennedy assassination, but we weren't totally uninvolved. So they just recently admitted to something like this. And it's funny how that doesn't make bigger news, but maybe now we need to take another look at it, Tyler. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
I agree. Thank you.
All right. I want to go to Pat in Seagoville next. Pat, Seagoville, you're on WBAP. What do you think happened today?
You had mentioned all the foreign actors that might have a motive in something like this. And I'm going to agree with the previous caller. We need to look inside there. Yeah. I think there's more motivation coming from inside our government, specifically CIA or FBI. You mentioned the JFK thing. But besides that, I mean, we all know about the Steele dossier. We all know about the Hunter laptop that both the FBI and the CIA knew they were fake. The narrative was fake, and they did it anyway. They want anything to keep Trump out of office. So I don't think it's a CIA agent or something like that, but it's like you said, a crazy guy that they can
steer in the right direction,
psychologically heap up, yeah, and get him and put him on. Yeah, I don't put that past. I don't put that past our own government to try something like that.
Right. And that's one of the things that fuels the fire of that talk is how poorly their credibility was killed by the Hunter laptop story, how poorly their credibility was killed by the Steele dossier, by over and over and over. Whenever the FBI is acting up, it's been against, and it's not just Trump, it's been against Republicans and 4 Democrats. So if there is some sort of big government cabal, it's not a coincidence that it always favors the party that's more pro-government. And it's really disappointing how it always lines up with the people in the media who are supposed to be uncovering this stuff for you.
The interesting thing now is that the FBI is investigating, and who's to say they were involved?
I believe the people who are on Twitter right now with their phones from the event more than I believe the FBI and or the CIA or any of that right now. Those guys' credibility means very, very little to me when it comes to anything Donald Trump or anything politics. And I'm not proud, and I'm not saying that because, like, haha, I'm defiant, I'm a rebel. I'm actually pretty sad about that.
I am as well.
Thank you, Pat. Let's go to Jason in Phoenix. Is there a Phoenix, Texas? Or are you calling in from Arizona? Hey, Jason.
I'm in Arizona, sir. How are you today?
Well, you're on WBAP. How can what do you think happened today?
I asked the call screener if you've seen the it's like a 2-second video of the supposed shooter, and I trust the media about as far as I can throw them. Same thing with the internet. Same thing with Twitter. Supposedly there's a name. I don't know if you want me to give the name or not. Out there, he's tied in with Antifa. I'm not surprised this has happened. I'm surprised it took this long. We've had Antifa and these other radical groups burning down cities, tearing up, neighborhoods, and no one's held accountable, number one. And then number two, like the other callers have said, you repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. And I think there's a lot of people out there that think that Trump is another Hitler and he's another tyrant, he's another dictator. So I think people think that that they can justify violence at this level.
Yeah, well, that's the scary part about using Hitler, because you and I agree that if there's a person walking down the sidewalk and you just run out there and punch him in the face, well, you're a pretty bad person. However, if you change that guy to Hitler, if you see Hitler walking down the sidewalk and you run out there and punch him in the face, are you still a bad person, or are you a hero? So yeah, absolutely, they're inciting violence by calling him a Hitler. That's what's so dangerous about it. That's why we push back about it. Not because we're offended or because we're secretly Nazis and you figured us out. It's because, look, man, that language that bad has negative consequences. And there's a reason why the rest of us don't do it. There's a reason why it's called reckless.
Yeah. And, that it's tough. I don't want to be judgmental on people, but then let's look at the facts. Supposedly, from information that I've read from, studies, supposedly, the average reading comprehension in the 8th grade is at the 8th grade level. We know that 3/4 of this country is fat to obese. The point being, think about if you're talking to an 8th grader who cannot take care of themselves, how many people, if you can't take care of your own self, if you can't make your own bed and you can't take care of yourself where the result may be death, okay, you might need some help. And hey, that's fine. But you keep repeating this stuff to a fat 8th grader, and guess what? Stuff is going to happen. But these are fat 8th graders that can drive cars, that can go buy weapons, that can go carry knives around. These people can do things, and that's exactly what happened today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you calling in. That's Jason calling in from Phoenix. I don't even know how you found us, but I'm glad you did. I appreciate your comments coming in. Megan over here on Facebook has the post. She says 100% that this is politically motivated. Now, of course, she doesn't know that, but that's what I'm asking you. I want to hear your I know it's baseless speculation. Fine. That's all we have at this point. History is happening right now under our feet. It just happened about 3.5 hours ago. And I want to ask you, what happened? What do you think happened? I would like to hear from you. Know better than the people on TV for most of these things. You have a better track record than Jake Tapper. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. The conversation continues as history is happening now on WBAP.
Secret Service focused on. If it's like
all right, awesome.
Unfortunately, they're focused on things like DEI and other issues that really are not of primary importance. Their number one priority should be to protect those that they are sworn to protect.
Line number 2 was let me see. Trying to think what we do next, because this is. I feel like we're running around with our chickens with our heads cut off.
Exhausted. So again,
I have some more audio to go
I
to.
want to say
I
thank
could
you
go
to the agents that are
step by step
working
through the
very,
audio.
very hard. But for the leadership that
And
allowed
I have
this to
like
happen, that
little
does need to be
monologue
investigated. That is
that I could just
unacceptable.
go into if you want me to stop taking calls for a minute.
James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee.
Okay.
Got a lot of calls though.
We do, yeah. You want to just? We went right to Fox. You want to just get out of it then?
That there were requests from Trump's.
Yeah, and I'll go back at the top of the hour.
You want to do till the top of the hour?
Yeah, if you come out of it now, I'll go to the top of the hour at least.
All right, let me play the Allen music then.
The perimeter.
And just say that we got so many calls, we just want to get to you. So something like that. Let me go ahead and play the music back in.
You're exactly right, Sean. And this is a Secret Service agent's worst nightmare. And having
you are up.
Welcome back. Continuing coverage on WBAP as history is happening today. Donald Trump survives an assassination attempt. I'm James Parker from The James Show. You hear me normally weekdays 2 to 5, and I'll be here on Monday. But right now we're doing some special programming until midnight where I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you think. We got some calls lined up. But before we jump right into that, the audio itself from the assassination attempt, I went to C-SPAN and I just went and pulled the raw audio, and C-SPAN does something great that none of the other stations did. They shut up and just let the audio run. And so you're going to hear it. The whole thing lasts 2 minutes. Okay. It'll start with him speaking. You will hear the pops. Okay. You're going to hear 3 pops from the assassination attempt. This is what I think we're hearing. Again, I'm no expert. None of this has been confirmed. Basic speculation. I'll admit that. But I believe you're going to hear 3 pops. what you're not going to see is him grab his ear and then sort of squat down. He doesn't fall down like a tree or stumble or anything. He sort of squats down like he's taking cover. As the Secret Service runs out and does the meat shield over him, you'll hear a flurry of bullets, which we are all assuming is the Secret Service taking out the attempted assassin. You're gonna hear him stay down for a little bit, and you'll hear someone, because they left the microphone on at the podium for a little bit. Someone in the Secret Service walks by and says, "Shooter's down," or "the assassin's down." I forgot the correct verbiage. But when they get the word that the assassin has been taken out, that's when they reorganize. You see them sort of shift and do like this arm lock thing, like it's a rugby scrum. And then they're like, all right, let's get him up. So he gets up, he has to get his shoes, and then they turn the microphone off. You can hear him like ask for his shoes and say like, wait. And right when they turn the microphone off, that's when he sticks his fist in the air. My God, if we had the audio of this, it would be amazing. But that's when he says fight 3 times, and you'll hear the crowd erupt at about 1 minute and 30 seconds into this whole thing. So the whole time when he was down was less than a minute. But here's the raw audio. Let's just walk through this, okay?
Our country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
3 shots. Here's the shots back. Secret Service took him out. There's an extra shot. I don't know what that is.
Move his spear. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. You ready?
So they did the lock arm thing, and now they're about to stand him up.
Are we good?
Shooter's down.
Are we good to move?
Are we good to move? You hear that?
Let's move. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes.
Let me get my shoes.
Let me get my shoes. Hold on.
There you go.
So we gotta move to the bus. Move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay. What's up?
Wait. Now he does the fight right here. USA team. All right. I have to pull it back here because some people went to the CNN camera, which was next to the C-SPAN camera, apparently. Started telling CNN that they're not very happy with their level of coverage, but they were using some pretty ugly language to do it. So there you go. History just happened today, and you just heard it again. Back to the phones we go. If you want to jump in on the conversation, there's a line open, 800-288-9227. Chris in Godly, you're on WBAP with James Parker. What do you think?
Thanks for taking my call, and thank you for coming out tonight to be involved in this instead of being at home like you should be.
Right.
But I want to make a comment before I ask my question is, I want to top your, we're not just making history here. It's not just something that's happening that's of historical proportion. This is biblical, and I've been saying this for a while during Trump's presidency and now even him running again. We're in biblical times. I mean, as much as Trump has had to endure all throughout his presidency and now running for his second term, no one else can do that without an anointing from God. And I'm a Christian man, hardcore man, and this guy has just been drugged through the mud. And anybody else that would go through as much as he's gone through, they wouldn't be able to make it. They'd drop out, quit, go in hiding, something. All the stuff that he's been through, and for him to get up seconds after that happened and pump his fists and tell us to continue to fight and chant USA, that gave me chills more than the shooting itself. I feel bad for the people involved. I pray hard for the gentleman that passed away and their family.
In camo, it
Hello.
appears, and was lying on the top of it, and that several.
I guess we lost someone. Something happened there, guys. Am I still connected? Everything looked good. I guess we just lost
Disconnection.
Okay, something happened to him. All right. No, look, I was getting wrapped up in his call because I had sort of a similar take. You know, I was my oldest son was watching.
We got him back.
Oh, okay, is he there? My oldest son was watching some of this coverage, and I was having a similar conversation with him. You know, like, wait, so he was president.
We got Chris back.
Thank you. And why does he want to be president again? And I look, it has to be for the good reasons. You know, he doesn't need this job. He doesn't need the money. If he is just doing it because he's a megalomaniac or an egomaniac, well, he's already did it once. He's already going to be in the history books. He doesn't need to be going through this. It's nothing but grief. He could just go to Mar-a-Lago and play golf and do whatever he wants to do for the rest of his life. He's the only person left in this country that this makes his life worse, running for president or being president again. So why is he doing it? It's not for a shallow reason. It's not because he needs the money or he thinks he's awesome or he wants to be president or he wants to be historic. I mean, if you're trying to ascribe some higher meaning to it, I think you got it today.
He is definitely anointed. Can you still hear me, James?
Yeah,
I
I think I lost you for a second, but no, I
Okay,
have you
he-
back because look, there's also I think you might have seen this too. There's some close-up picture that a photographer got from the side, and it's while he's on the ground, and it's while the Secret Service is over him, and he's looking at the ground, and like there's two like little drops of blood that are coming off of those channels on his cheek there, and like in that minute, you wonder, is he down there thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I risking my life for this stupid job? I already had it. All I did was get crapped on by the media. All my Hollywood friends turned their back on me. Half of my family turned their back on me. And I don't need the money. I could be golfing right now. And here I am getting shot in the damn head for this. And he could have said, forget it, I quit. But what did he do? He got up, he put his fist up, and he told them to stop. And he wanted everyone in that place to know that he ain't done, and this isn't stopping him. This didn't change anything. If anything, we're just going to dig our heels in and fight even harder. And
it's only going to make us stronger. It's only going to make him stronger and everybody around him that's stronger, because you can't mess with God, brother. You cannot mess with God. And when he's anointed the way he is, just like Daniel in the lion's den, right? It is no different. All the stuff that he's gone through, it's no different than that. The establishment has tried to do everything they can,
right?
And it's just nothing's working.
I love it when my lefty friends post the memes. They're like, this guy's had like 3 divorces and slept with a porn star and done all kinds of evil stuff, and the Christians still support him. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what David did, and Abraham even had a kid out of wedlock, and having very flawed people at the top, whether it's a Gideon or a David or a Solomon, that's pretty par for the course for old God. He takes a lot of
God goes out of his way to use the ones that we think are the worst, right? Look at the disciples.
Well, it's also like a sort of a catch-22, because there's not a perfect guy. You're going to be able to shoot holes in any human being. It's just politically convenient for them to hold Christians by our own standards when they don't have standards. Michael and Colleen, thank you, Chris. Michael and Colleen, you're going to be next on WBAP talking to James Parker. What do you think happened today?
Hey, Mr. Parker. First, I'm as happy that Mr. Trump is okay as I am sad for the 2 people that took rounds just simply standing there minding their own business. You're growing on me, by the way, listening to you in the afternoons. But
2 minutes until the top of the hour.
I'm a combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. All right. And I've seen this sort of political violence before, okay, in foreign countries. And I would urge, if you know a combat veteran, ask them who's been to Iraq and Afghanistan. Not people who simply deployed. I'm talking the people who actually, like myself, were outside the wire and dealing with this thing. And I would urge anybody that's listening tonight, anybody, regardless of whether you like Trump, hate Trump, indifferent about Trump, keep your heads about you, because the problem with political violence is once it starts to spread, it becomes its own living, breathing thing, and it's very ugly. And there's been talk about civil war and this and that. It's not going to be one team dressing up in blue or one team dressing up in gray like the old days. It's not going to be a reenactment. You're going to have people motivated if it goes that way, and I hope the hell it doesn't. If it goes that way, the problem with this is you're going to have people
1 minute to the top of the hour.
Other things in with it that have nothing to do with it, and that's where it starts to get out of control. You're going to say, well, I don't care if that guy supports my guy. He borrowed my lawnmower and never brought it back. Well, that's an excuse to go handle business. I mean,
I hear you, Michael and Colleen.
Coming hours, days, and weeks as this investigation goes on. Let's just let the facts bear out.
We got to roll into a news break here, and I don't like to think about that, but that's probably why you came on and said it, because we don't like to think about that. Maybe we do need to think about that, Michael. I mean, you've seen it, so maybe we need to get that on their mind. I'm glad you injected that in the conversation, because I'm trying to have a little bit of fun and levity in this show, no matter what I do. But you know what? Maybe we should be a little more serious about this, especially going forward. Michael might be right. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker, continuing coverage on Trump surviving an assassination attempt on WBAP.
All right, you're off.
That's exactly 1 minute from when you said it.
Alert.
Thank you very much.
From News Talk 820.
What was that?
I did it exactly 1 minute
on
from when you
FM
said 1
at
minute.
Awesome.
Shot during an assassination
the people
attempt.
online
I'm
can hear
Eric
us chatting
Bushman
in the
from
background, by the way.
WBAP 24/7.
All right.
Just don't curse.
Okay, 20 WBAP, Fort Worth, Dallas.
Yeah.
3 WBAP, FM, Haltom City, Dallas.
I'm going to get a refill.
FMHD2,
I got like 5 minutes here.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, you got time.
Broadcast tonight on News and Information, 570 KLIF, Dallas, Fort Worth, 96.3 KSCS, FM HD2, Fort Worth, Dallas. Shots fired at former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And what is being investigated is an assassination attempt. Former President Trump says he was shot. He says he heard a whizzing sound and felt a bullet rip through his skin. He says a bullet pierced the upper part of his ear and much bleeding took place. This from a post tonight on Truth Social. The Secret Service says multiple shots were fired toward the stage from an elevated position. The gunman was immediately shot and killed by the Secret Service. The FBI will take the lead in this investigation. Interestingly, it was right here in Dallas following the Kennedy assassination. The law was changed where any harm to the president, or in this case, former president, would be investigated at the federal level. This is not to be investigated by local officials as a local assault. One person at the rally was killed and 2 others were critically injured. This is how it happened.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
The Secret Service then rushed the former president away, Trump pumping his fists in the air, saying, fight, fight, fight. We do have a new report from Fox's Jill Nato.
The former president was whisked away after gunshots rang out at his rally north of Pittsburgh. Law enforcement agents say Secret Service managed to kill the shooter, and the former president now says he's fine. He posted on his Truth social media site that a bullet pierced the upper part of my right ear. He also said, I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Jill Nato, Fox News.
Local reaction to the assassination attempt on former President Trump, Republican Congressman Roger Williams of North Texas.
Anything can happen. It just takes one person like this mad person to decide they're going to hurt somebody, and here we go. But and it comes at a horrible time. It should never happen, but we've got our convention coming up now, and there's a lot of anger out there, and I'm so grateful for the president being okay, and the Secret Service and law enforcement, how they took care of him.
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise telling Fox News he recalls a concern former President Trump showed him the day he was shot during a congressional baseball practice.
That night, Donald Trump came to the hospital to check on me and just to console my family. And that was his birthday. He left a birthday party to come and check on me, and just the kind of person he is. I texted him a little while ago because he's a special man. He's a strong man. I know that. But he's a caring person. He cares about people. He cares about this country.
President Joe Biden is returning to Washington from a weekend getaway in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He did speak out earlier tonight saying this kind of political violence is sickening. Again, the former president wounded, but not critically. He has been discharged from a local hospital in the Pennsylvania area. He is issuing statements. One person at the rally was killed, 2 others critically injured, and the shooter was shot and killed by the Secret Service. I'm Eric Bushman. Your next update is...
Are you there?
Check back several times
No,
throughout
I'm
your
not
day
here.
and keep connected. DFW to News Talk.
Okay. Yeah, Alan.
93.3.
All right, you're up.
Welcome. You're listening to continuing coverage as history is happening today. President Trump survives an assassination attempt. I'm James Parker with WBAP. You hear me normally on the James Show afternoons 2 to 5, but I want to talk to you today. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. If you want to jump in, there's a couple of lines open. I'll be getting to you in just a second here, but something that was I just want to pass along to you because I think it's kind of information you'd find interesting. I missed it when this happened. 13 minutes after it happened, me and my wife were watching a movie on the couch, and it was done. So then it's time to. I miss Parker. And so then I checked my phone, and of course, me being who I am, I have like 7 different people texting me, "The President Trump got shot." So I was about 13 minutes late to the game. So immediately you go to the TV, and I have a weird setup. I cut the cord some years ago, and I can still stream from the networks or whatever. But when I'm in the living room, I just doofus around on whatever free stuff happens in the Roku channel. So I'm like goofing around, going through the sub channels on Pluto. And, I was just so disgusted because the first thing we turned on was the air feed, and NBC or CBS had cut in. I forgot which local station we were listening to, and it was terrible. And you know what we ended up listening to? We ended up listening to Fox Nation, or Fox has some sort of, not Fox News, but like a Fox Nation channel that's on Roku. And then their Real American News. They were great. OAN, they were okay. There was also an America First News. Like there's all kinds of like sub news channels. So when we gripe about the news during the week, just stop listening to those people. Don't listen to ABC, NBC, CBS. Go listen to these like little sub channels. They did a fantastic job. And one of the things I'm going to steal is like within a minute, there was a guy saying, yeah, we've been lectured about January 6th for the last 4 years. This makes January 6th look like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I don't want to hear anything else about January 6th again. Right? 800-288-9227. Let's go to Joe in Grapevine. You're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Well, James, I first want to say thank you for coming on the air. I know there's a lot of patriots out there that are very upset about this, and we just need a forum to vent. And this means so much to me that you're on the air right now, and I just want to thank you and your crew for doing what you're doing. You're heaven sent. You may prevent a lot of things happening. I'm just people just being so upset, or heart attacks or whatever, not being able to vent openly. And thank you so much, my friend. The thing that concerns me right now, James, is that a line of sight. They took him out immediately. I mean, I'm a former Marine. Any soldier, it doesn't even take an expert or a Secret Service or SWAT or anyone. Why was that building not covered already, or even with a sniper on it, if there was already a line of sight? I heard that people were yelling at police officer about this guy crawling up on the building. And 2 or 3 minutes, they said, now whether it's true or not, we'll wait till all the dust settles, but that's what was heard. Why did that happen? And that makes it very suspicious to me. And I heard before you came on, and even before Sean Hannity I was listening to 570, you must be simulcast at the same time.
We were.
You're on both stations, right? You are, exactly. So I was listening before you came on and before Sean Hannity when they were with some other commentators, and they brought that up. They said some heads are going to roll. This should not have happened. There is no excuse for this. What the heck happened? A common soldier could have figured that one out, and yet he was taken out immediately. Well, that even sounds more suspicious. Why did that happen? That's what I want to know. And I did hear one time, whether it's true or not, that he was wearing fatigues and that he could have been Asian. Now, of course, that brings all kinds of things up as well. but that was mentioned one time, and it has not been mentioned another time. You mentioned Antifa. We could go through and speculate all kinds of scenarios, but as you know and I know, James, all the hate. We can name stations, CNN, MSNBC. I've heard them myself. They played recordings of it, of them talking about even mentioning the A word, or that he's going to be, maybe somebody's going to have to just take him out, whether they meant it or not. They have planted some evil seeds into the public, and we have heard it. We can go back, and I guarantee you Jan Bongino and others are going to bring all of this up. And I bet you're good about digging up information. I bet you can find a lot of that information and hate out there, planting seeds like this, James, whatever it is. And as far as him not being the president, anybody knows we see where the president's race is right now. And another thing, being a former Marine, I never served on embassy duty or anything, but I would give my life for President Biden. I hope that man is very careful, because it wouldn't surprise me with the weaponization of this government and what they've done and how they've attacked this man. And it's not everybody. There's a lot of good people in this, but it makes me wonder, what else are they going to do? Look what they did for him for years now to former President Trump. And now all this happened. We could speculate all night long, but James, thank you. Thank you. You've helped me right now, because I've been very upset about this. As I know, a lot of you out there are very upset, but there's a lot of questions on security right now, and why this a line of sight, why that happened. I want an answer.
Yeah, and I know why you're upset about that, because if the Secret Service allowed it to happen and it was something that obvious, that means that they wanted it to happen, or they were allowing it to happen. Because, you know, there's like a couple of theories on, you know, the closest analog we have on this that keeps coming up is John F. Kennedy. It's not that the CIA could have pulled the trigger themselves. They could have just steered a crazy person in the right direction, knew it was going to happen, and then just allowed it to happen. You know, and we don't know. But yeah, when you hear speculation like that's why it bothers Joe and Grapevine so much. That's why it bothers me so much. That's why it should bother you quite a bit, because if what he's saying is correct over here, and it really was kind of that easy, and there were citizens warning cops, or cops warning Secret Service, or some sort of breakdown like that, then now we're talking about a whole nother level of evil. Because, you know, for our brain to process it, for us to not have some painful cognitive dissonance and sort of up into our worldview. Oh, look, here's there's the overview. Finally, they have that. Sorry. For all that to happen, for it to be an inside job, I mean, that takes a level of brain power that you and I just don't want to deal with. We don't want to think, oh my God, did our FBI and CIA just try and kill the guy who's trying to be president? Why would they want him dead? Why is he so dangerous to these guys that they would allow that to happen? Why was JFK so dangerous to the CIA that they allowed that to happen? Has he said anything about, I don't know, dismantling them or cutting their funding or getting to the bottom of it, or you know, getting to the bottom of whoever screwed him over in 2020 or 2016? Let's move on to Joe in Denton. Let me refresh my screen to make sure he's still there. Joe in Denton, you're on WBAP. What do you think happened today?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's an epic failure on the U.S. Secret Service part, because they should have had a much, much bigger perimeter. As I'm a law enforcement officer, and I'm currently working, so I may have to go if there's a call. But their circle perimeter should have been much, much larger than that. If that guy shot the president or future president with a AR-15 5.56/223, well within range, they needed to make that circle at least 1,000 yards or better. I shoot 308s out to 1,000 yards and can hit a 10-inch X-ring. I'm sorry, 5.5-inch X-ring at 800 yards, and I'm
dang. What?
Yeah, yes, yeah. When you shoot matches, that's when you shoot 1,000-yard match. The target is 3 foot across, and the 10 ring or the X-ring is 5.5 inches. Yep.
And you can hit that from 800 yards.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get that good at it?
Well, I've been shooting a long time, and I reload my own bullets. So once you do that and you fine tune it,
you reload your own bullets, meaning you put the casing with the primer and the powder, and you crimp it and everything.
Yep, and then you go by the
nerd. You are a gun
ballistic...
nerd. But it's good to talk to you in cases like this. So how long would it take for just a regular old goof like me, who I'm somewhat familiar with guns, but I can't hit anything at 800 yards. I've look, the longest I've really attempted on a somewhat regular basis is 100 yards, and I'm terrible. How long could a regular guy train himself up, or would he have to have help to get to that level?
Oh, you could do it in a couple of weeks. It's all about the ballistics and knowing the wind and judging the wind.
Okay.
The wind is the most critical thing, because once the bullet's going to fly the same speed once you reload it, it's going to be consistent at like 2,700 feet per second. But what I'm getting at is they need to have made that circle much bigger, that perimeter, safety perimeter around the president, much bigger for all common calibers. The 6.5 Creedmoor, which is an excellent round, that's a 1,200 yard round. The 308, 1,000-yard round. And even 5.56, this kid, which I'm sure y'all already seen the pictures, it shows he has on like a gray grunt style shirt, and he's a skinny kid and looks like camo pants. And here's another thing. If this guy has any affiliation with Antifa, which I would not be surprised he doesn't, it's going to be hidden, because the Biden administration would not want that out there, because then if Trump gets in, he's going to go after them. And we all, at least I believe, that Antifa is part of the foot soldiers for the Democratic Party. I mean,
they're the black shirts.
Where have they been since Trump's been in office, or since Biden's been in office? They've all shut up and all gone back to their mom's basement.
Yeah, so they are the modern equivalents of the black shirts for fascist Italy in the early 1900s, or the brown shirts for the Nazis. They are the
for the Mussolini and the Hitler. Yes, correct.
Totally agree.
Like I said, in my opinion, it's just a fail. And I hate to say that against my fellow law enforcement officers. And I've worked with some Secret Service guys in the past, and they are good guys. But I do believe that some heads need to roll, and they need to look at the upper guys that were on the ground there that set up that perimeter and everything. How come they didn't have the background? Why was this guy able to, according to the guy in the Trump hat with the funny looking wig on top, the little blonde wig, how come they saw him crawling up the roof and were pointing at him and telling police and Secret Service, and yet the guy was able to get off 3 or 4 shots at the president before they engaged him? And then when they did engage him, where were their drones? How come there were no drones in the air for a 1,000-yard perimeter around there and see this guy crawling on a roof? I mean, he stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, by the way, when I called you a gun nerd, I meant that as from a place of jealousy. I wish I could shoot as well as you, and your expertise is actually welcome on the show. So thank you very much for calling in. When I see the overhead shot, though, of sort of looks like the Google Maps picture of it, it really looks like it could be 200 yards max. 200 yards is what I would guess max. It wasn't a building that was far off in the distance, disappearing over the horizon. It was in the next lot over to his right, and it was at a sharper than a 45-degree angle. So his little head turn at in the sentence that he was speaking, when he just decided, I'm going to look at this person over here, saved his life. Just a little head turn right at the end saved his. When you look at the angle where the bullet comes from, it's almost from the side. It's almost a side shot. So if he turns his head the other way, or if he keeps his head straight, he's dead. 800-288-9227. We're just working this out in real time. History happens today, and we're just getting through this. Let's talk to Robert in Dallas. Robert in Dallas, you're next up, talking to James Parker on WBAP. What do you think happened today?
James, thank you, buddy. I appreciate your approach to all of this. I've got a couple of thoughts. First, I can't not see the parallels between this and some of the legendary stories about Colonel George Washington back in the day.
Okay.
Being at the forefront of a battle, returning home alive, and having 3 or 4 bullet holes in his coat. There's something's going on there. Second, I will heap a bunch of ownership on the cackling hens, right? Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny for the rhetoric, right? They've been spinning this up for an awful long time, and I think they should step up and own it. And the last thing is, one of the previous callers described, if you've not been under fire, you can't understand the dynamics of that, and hearing a bullet whiz by you and whatever else. And just credit to the fortitude of Mr. Trump to first drop, like he should have, thank you, Secret Service training, whatever, and then whatever, but just his fortitude, his will, his true hope for an America, get up and fist pump on the way out. How can we criticize that, right? If you had a doubt about who this guy is, even looking at all the accomplishments, whatever, despite all the mainstream media commentary to the other side, that's a real dude. That's a real dude. We're blessed, and I hope for and of course, the best for the other fallen and wounded and their families and all of that. It's a reminder that freedom is not free. We have to step up every day, and there is risk.
Man, you got
period.
Robert, you've got me thinking like 8 things. Number one, when you started off on the list of people who need to be held accountable for this, you mentioned Whoopi and Joy, and I kind of soft pedal it against people like ladies who are on an afternoon talk show. My criticism is much sharper for like a Jake Tapper or Rachel Maddow or Lawrence O'Donnell, or these people who are on news networks and they're supposed to be journalists. We all know that The View is just cackling hens gossiping over the fence, like housewives, and that's what it's supposed to be. And
I get that, and I think that's the insidious sort of factor to that, because when we see Jake or somebody or Martha in a debate setting or other things like that, blah blah. But yes, we're just housewives sitting on the couch eating bonbons, watching these women, and they have been doing it consistently and effectively for years, right? We can go back to Obama and how we did that, and DNA, racism, and DNA, and all the other things,
Look,
and whatever. But here we are, and why are we surprised?
The other thing that you made me think of in your description, Robert, when you talked about how, when he was down, he got back up and he did the fist pump. I was thinking of,
absolute instinct.
Well, yeah, legendary instinct. But for the people who are the Joy Behars or the Rachel Maddows or the Greta Thunberg AOC types, when Trump went down, they were hoping they got him, or they were hoping even if it just nicked his ear. Is he going to cower? Is he going to cry? Is he going to quit? Is he going to like scurry away all scared? And he didn't. He got up, and the historical analog that I see here is Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt's running for president. Some assassin comes out of the crowd with a single shot pistol, hits him square in the chest. Right. They take the assassin down. Teddy figures out that he's okay, brushes everyone off, gets up and finishes his speech. Trump just won the election today.
That's what one does, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the reaction, it's not that he got shot. It's not that there was the attempt. It's not that things have gotten so harrowing. It's his reaction in that 1 minute after his ear was ripped. How did he react? That just won him the election today.
You're not wrong.
Right?
You're not
right.
wrong.
All right.
And that is a measure. And again, highlighting what the previous caller said, that if you've never been under fire, don't understand. It's a whole, thank God bless that we don't most of us never have to undergo any of those situations. That's a measure.
Yeah, we saw his true character today. You're right. We saw his true
Been
character.
there, done that.
Yep.
He's fist pump.
Yeah. All right. Let me go to Sherry in
Fist bump.
Waxahachie. Thank you, Robert. Sherry in Waxahachie, you're next up, talking with James Parker on WBAP. Trump survived his assassination attempt today. What did you see?
Hi, James. Thank you for taking my call. It's Sherry, and I am in Waxahachie. Have a couple comments. First of all, I am a 5-time Trump rally attender. I do love Trump, and I've supported him. I'm the wife of a 20-year honorably discharged disabled veteran. And I love the country, America, the Constitution. I love that Donald Trump says what we all want to say. And he's often told us that they're not after him. They're after us. He's just in the way. And I believe that's true. I wanted to make a comment regarding the usurper in the White House wasn't elected by 81 million people, who actually stated five days ago that it was time to put Donald Trump in the bullseye. And I personally think that if Trump had said anything like that, he would be indicted again.
Oh, yeah, because the bloodbath, remember the bloodbath comments like a month ago? It's like, well, Hitler literally used that term before. It's like, well, no, he didn't literally use that term. He doesn't speak English. But they acted like that was
Hitler is inciting violence. Yes, that's exactly right. I think that Biden, his administration, and his handlers, they need to be held accountable for that. And when Donald Trump said fight, 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 a lot of us who are patriots who've been waiting for that word, we knew exactly what he meant. And it's on. That movie that just came out, Civil War, that was produced by, well, I went and saw it. After the end of it, I looked at my husband and I said, I can't even tell which side is which. It was a script. I don't know what they thought they were going to do today, but there is a breach. Being at 5 rallies, I can tell you the security is tight and there's a large perimeter. And I've been in a place where they've gathered 25,000 people on a 2-day notice. When I went to the Reno, Nevada rally, 25,000 people. Most of them came from California, myself included. My husband
Sorry to interrupt.
was working for ICE at the time.
All right, so Sherry, what's security like at these rallies? Do you have to go through metal detectors? Do they check everybody? What's that like?
You go through the metal detectors. You do get screened. They look at your purse. They have technology far beyond our capabilities. They know who's who when you're getting there. They also have a private security detail, and they're a Viking outfit that is pretty bad to the bone. I don't know if you've ever seen them in any of the footage.
What are you saying, Viking outfit? You don't mean like the QAnon shaman, do you? What are you talking about?
No. I'm talking an outfit, a Viking style security. Their Viking might be in their name. It's a security company that was hired by President Trump.
But they don't have a metal hat with horns coming off of it or anything, right?
No.
You just painted a funny picture in my head.
The shaman guy was Pelosi's minion.
Right. All right. Well, Sherry in Waxahachie, but what do you think when you hear the other people say that this security breach is really suspicious? Because if you've been to 5 Trump rallies, does this really sound suspicious?
Absolutely.
Dang it, you people are freaking me out with that stuff. I can't tell you you're wrong either. I've been to 0 political rallies of this size, so I don't know. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you, Sherry in Waxahachie.
Thank you.
All right, I can squeeze in one more before we're going to get a news update with Eric Bushman. Let's go to John in Waco. John in Waco, thanks for hanging out. You're on WBAP talking to James Parker. What do you think happened today, John?
Well, I think I just wanted to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight more for election integrity and reelecting President Trump. These anti-American people that don't want verification of the U.S. citizenship, these lawless people like the assassinator today, the attempted assassination guy, they need to be stopped. The criminal activity needs to be stopped. And so I'm going to be contributing to outfits that are working on lawsuits for election integrity, like the Article 3 project. And I'm going to be contributing more to reelecting President Trump.
Well, you're down in Waco. If the election's going to be stolen, it's not going to be in McLennan County. I hope
That's
we
right.
have people like you. What we need is not John in Waco. We need John in Fulton County is where we need him. We need John in whatever precinct that was in Philadelphia where they had to stop counting because, a pipe burst. We need John in Maricopa County. And I'm not trying to be defeatist, but there's only so much we can do over here. We've really just crossing our fingers and hoping there's some patriots who step up in these places to make sure that crap doesn't happen again. Because you're right, it doesn't matter if he survives an assassination attempt or if President Biden's in full blown dementia. If they're going to stuff the ballot box, there's no way to beat that. And so,
That's right.
vigilance
Effort
is
on
one.
those swing states. I'm going to do what I can to focus my effort where they're on those swing states.
That's a
You're
good.
exactly
Thank
right.
You, thank you, John in Waco. Thank you for your call. That's a good positive takeaway. And I like the other positive takeaways thus far of like we needed to all tone down the rhetoric or whatever. But Trump survived an assassination attempt. I want to hear from you. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. Special coverage on WBAP.
You are clear, sir.
This is a breaking news alert from News Talk WBAP.
And now on FM at 93.3.
Former President Donald Trump shot in an assassination attempt. I'm Eric Bushman from the WBAP 24/7 news desk. Shots fired at former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, in what is being investigated as an assassination attempt. Former President Trump says he was shot. He says he heard a whizzing sound and felt a bullet rip through his skin. He says a bullet pierced the upper part of his ear and much bleeding took place. That from a post tonight on Truth Social. The Secret Service says multiple shots were fired toward the stage from an elevated position. The gunman was immediately shot and killed by the Secret Service.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
The Secret Service rushed the former president away, Trump pumping his fists in the air, saying, fight, fight, fight. Republican Congressman Steve Scalise tonight is among lawmakers from both sides of the aisle reacting to the assassination attempt. Scalise, of course, knows what it's like to be the target of gunfire, as he was. He told Fox News tonight he recalls the concern the former president showed him the day he was shot.
That night, Donald Trump came to the hospital to check on me and just to console my family. And that was his birthday. He left a birthday party to come and check on me, and just the kind of person he is. I texted him a little while ago because he's a special man. He's a strong man. I know that. But he's a caring person. He cares about people. He cares about this country.
Meanwhile, President Biden gave remarks on the shooting. Here's Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
President Joe Biden addressed the nation in reaction to what law enforcement officials are calling an attempted assassination of former President Trump during a rally in the Pittsburgh area. In remarks from Delaware, the president said, quote, everybody must condemn the attack on Trump.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot condone this.
Trump campaign says the former president is, quote, fine. The shooter was killed by the Secret Service. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
I'm Eric Bushman. Your news update. All right. And keep connected to News Talk, WBAP, and now on.
All right, you're up, sir.
All right, welcome. This is continuing coverage on WBAP. I'm James Parker. You know me normally from the James Show and much usually lighter and more festive situations, but in this one, this is serious. You just watched history happen in front of your face today. Already, the fallout from this is being felt, and we're being a little reflective, looking back, also looking forward. We're kind of trying to take some lessons to go on from here. 800-288-9227 if you want to be a part of the conversation. 800-288-9227. You heard from so many people over the last couple of weeks, especially after the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court. You got to worry about right-wing death squads. That's right, right-wing death squads around every corner. You got to look out. This is just giving the right carte blanche to just go out and start shooting their opponents. And then what happens? The exact opposite. Aren't you getting tired of the media telling you something's going to happen and the opposite happens? Aren't you tired of being told if you like your doctor, you can keep it, and then when it passes, you lose your doctor? Or if you like your plan, you lose your plan. If you're told your premiums to go down, they went up. If you're told repealing net neutrality will make the internet slower and more expensive, now it's half price at double the speed. You're told vaccines will work. I mean, everything down the line. Look at how much stuff they tell you that is absolutely wrong. Now, they don't lie about stuff that can be just objectively proven, and it's not politically advantageous to them. They're not going to lie about an apartment fire. But anything that's has to do with politics, you can almost bank on the opposite happening. The entire time you were told from 2017 to COVID started that Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election. Turned out to also not be true. The opposite happened in 2020. On the James Show, I was telling you, you got to watch out. I was telling you, see, this is from what? This is from the show I did on July 3rd. So what is that, 10 days ago? I was warning about the ramping up of rhetoric because it was Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and all these other people. You know, I come with just an avalanche of audio on this. That happened after the SCOTUS ruling. And then a week later, I started seeing a bunch of stuff pop up on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram of people saying things like this, like, we're going to have to do something about this. They get really scared. All right, now that's just some random chunky woman dressed as a dude. And I don't know if the Secret Service checked her out. But these are things that you can't take casually. You know, these are horrible insults that are thrown at you on an almost daily basis. And I'm just trying to encourage you to please push back a little bit harder. You know how no one uses the N-word anymore, or no non-black people use the N-word anymore in public? Why? Because they'll be destroyed. They'll lose their job, or if you're standing in front of them, you'll get punched in the face. We need to start having a similar reaction to being called a Nazi, or to being called a racist, or to being called any of these basket of deplorables, to borrow the term from Hillary, that are, because what it is permission to commit violence on us. There's nothing immoral about punching a Nazi. There's nothing immoral about taking out Hitler. You're doing the world a favor. You are a good person if you take out Hitler. And if that's the world we have to live in, then they need to stop calling you Hitler. Because this is what happens. 800-288-9227. I'm just telling you to stand up for yourself. That's all I'm telling you to do. Look, the people that throw around Nazi or Hitler, they should lose their job. Jake Tapper should lose his job for comparing bloodbath comments to Hitler. After this, Bill Parcells gets fired from the Cowboys from going 5-11. But all these other people can keep their job no matter how bad they are at predictions or how much violence they incite. Oops. 800-288-9227. Let's go to the phones. I want to talk to Jamie in Arlington. You're next up on WBAP, talking to James Parker. What do you think happened today, Jamie?
Hey, James. I'm still laughing about the chunky woman comment.
Well, she needs to give me my clothes back. That's the funny thing. I talk about Rachel Maddow. Not only did she steal my clothes, she also copied my haircut.
Yeah, funny. I'm a little bit of a JFK historian. You know, the assassination that happened here in Dallas, and you watch this Zapruder film. If you watch the assassination, you know, JFK got shot and he raised his hands up to his throat, probably sat upright in the car for another 3 to 4 seconds before we see the final shot. You know, the amazing thing to me, if you watch what happened today, what transpired, Trump gets shot. Within a second, He's down. He knows to duck. He's behind the bulletproof barrier.
Right, and he
Secret
didn't
Service
fall
is on
over.
top.
It was a squat. It was an intentional squat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I saw that too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ducked. You know, and I watched it several times, and I thought, man, I really think he probably saved his life right there. And, of course, Secret Service pile on top. He's behind the bulletproof barrier. You know, he's much well protected. But if you think back to the JFK time, it took Secret Service almost 5 seconds to get to the car, and it was over, right? But Trump today, within a second, shots fired, hits the ear, grabs his ear, ducks down. And, you know, they're talking about the cognitive ability of Trump and Biden. And I think to myself, I think Biden is still standing there frozen on stage, right? You know, but Trump, the ability to duck down probably saved his life today, probably bullets whizzing by, you know, and I look at that and think, man, we're watching history live. But it was amazing to me that, you know, this guy who's, you know, in his early 70s has the ability to recognize what's happening, get down, protect himself. It's a historic moment.
Well,
right?
yeah.
We all saw it live on TV.
Yeah, and I think he's in his late 70s. But no, look, and what you're describing is I've heard from 2 other callers now, and we don't know, but it feels like sort of this moment of providence, like not necessarily God intervened, but just the timing of the head turn, you know, and the angle of the shooter we now know is almost from the side, almost like a what's the word, perpendicular to him. It's just barely in front of him. So not only do you have to turn, you have to turn it quite a bit. So yeah, there's like a lot of tiny little variables that if it goes wrong, Trump's dead. And man, what an amazing coincidence or miracle, or, you know, if you're an atheist, you know, it's just a coincidence, or if you're spiritual, that's a miracle, right? And so you got to admit something crazy happened today. That something magic happened today.
A lot of Secret Service questions around how he could be set up, how he could be on the, you know, roof and the perimeter and all that stuff. But you also have to applaud the guys that, you know, think about the setup, put the bulletproof screen in place. We don't know how many other bullets went by or were deflected and all that stuff. So I do see a difference from 1963 to today. You know, I do see a difference in the training and the response by Trump and the Secret Service. But, you know, how a guy can be on the roof with the, you know, firearm 150 yards away, that's still a big question.
The Secret Service, from what I've observed, was put into a really impossible situation with JFK. There's no way they could have responded faster. They have dudes that are running next to the car. I mean, what else can you do? But also, like with the Secret Service, I want to hesitate before I beat them up too bad, because of course this makes them look bad in the meantime. But you know, I can also see some guy just goes up a fire escape and can set up a gun in less than 2 minutes and get a couple of shots off. That's, you know, that's really hard to stop every assassin attempt with determined people at all times in an open environment like that. So maybe they do deserve criticism. I don't know yet, but man, it does look bad. And I think a lot of people saw what you saw too, Jamie, with the sort of feeling of providence, I guess, for lack of a better word. Some miracle happened. Some angel came down and turned his head like right at the last second. And you know, because think about this. If he had missed by a little bit more and there's no graze wound, this doesn't mean nearly as much. The fact that the contact was made, the fact that we see the blood, the fact that we get the photo of him with the fist pumping and the blood running down his face. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's too perfect, because this is a horrible tragedy and this is lemonade being made out of lemons. But man, what a crazy event we all just witnessed today.
Centimeter to the left, not a big story, right? Mild story. Centimeters to the right, you know, it's a totally different scenario. It's crazy to think.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Thank you very much. Centimeters to the left, totally different story. Centimeter to the right, totally different story. Great call, Jamie in Arlington. Oh, look, the studio audience woke up. Let's go to Brad in Colleyville. You're on WBAP talking to James Parker. What did you see today?
Hey, I think I saw divine intervention like you were talking about just a minute ago, but there was something that I saw. One of the BBC reporters that they were noting on Newsmax, there was a party across the street from where that building was where the shooter was on. They'd walked over next to or pretty close to that building, and they said they were like 50 yards from that building at the most. And they saw the shooter crawl up there. They notified local police, said, hey, right here, 2 minutes. I mean, these were people standing there. So they notified police standing there and said, nobody did anything. And he said, we're, here for 2 minutes. And then they didn't get him off stage. They didn't do anything. Nobody radioed over. They're just like, what are you talking about? They go, there's a guy in the building and he just went up there with a rifle.
Bro, 2 minutes is not a lot of time, but I've heard that story from a few other people. And if that's how it went down, we either have, I don't know, what do we have, a bunch of DEI hires on the social Secret Service, or they're passive participants in it. I don't like either one, but I really hope they weren't passive participants in it. Because one of the things Miss Parker said, and I didn't say this, so don't get mad at me. I don't just
Miss Parker.
Miss Parker, when they were taking him off and putting him into the big black SUV, she commented to me. She's like, "Why are half of the Secret Service agents women?" I was like, "The quotas? I don't know. Is that a bad thing?" And so my wife, that's what she noticed. She noticed is like, is there a bunch of DEI hires on the Secret Service detail? Is that what's going on? Or do they just put like the DEI hires on Trump's Secret Service detail and then Biden gets the good ones? Like, I don't know. I don't have answers for that, but damn, it seems suspicious because the Secret Service isn't known for slipping up like this.
I will say one thing about the female that was there. She seemed to get on it pretty quick.
Yeah, the one that was on the stage, right? But when you see them take them off and you go down, like the secondary Secret Service agents, the ones that are just checking bathroom passes or whatever, it's almost all women off the stage.
Like she was going to move him herself to get him off that stage.
All right.
But anyway, I still say divine intervention, and I think we all ought to be very thankful for that.
Right. Yeah. Divine intervention for those of us who are believers. And if you're an atheist, that's fine. You're welcome to listen to the show. You can just go ahead and say, wow, that was an amazing coincidence. That was just an amazing turn of events. Whatever makes you feel better. But Brad's right. Thank you, Brad.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me on. You have a good night.
All right. Let's go up to McKinney and talk to Zach. Zach and McKinney, you're next up talking to James Parker on WBAP. What did you see today?
Yeah, I think it was, obviously this is a miracle from God that President Trump was spared, and just couldn't believe it. I was driving, but listening to the rally on Sirius XFM, Fox News, and I heard the gunshots, but you don't know what it is because obviously I wasn't seeing it.
Oh, you heard it live?
And then, yeah, I heard it live.
See, I didn't get to hear it
not
live.
in person, but on the radio.
No, right. On the company I used to work for.
Yeah, and it was just I had to pull over before I had a car wreck myself. And but here's what I told your screener. I said, this is now the Democrats' January 6th. July 13th will be the day that goes down in infamy, in the words of FDR. This is what we can put an albatross over their neck, because actually somebody was attempted to be assassinated. I don't recall anybody trying to kill anybody on January 6th. I'm not saying what happened on January 6th should have happened. It shouldn't have, but it's nothing compared to what happened today.
I know. What did they break a window? Some dude chunked a fire extinguisher. There was a guy who took a wayward deuce in Nancy Pelosi's office. Yeah, January 6th is a joke compared to this.
Took some doors down off the hinges, perhaps.
They
actually almost killed the former president of the United States
and future president.
To be president. And the 47th president.
You know what, Zach? That
January 6th.
That is a great takeaway. I don't want to hear any complaints about January 6th forever, for the rest of our lives. I don't want to hear you bring up, and not you, Zach, but obviously the people who bring it up. I don't hear anything about that. I don't want to hear, we almost overthrew, he incited an insurrection. No, we have actual incitement to violence. So if we're going to play the incitement game, let's play the incitement game. But I bet you don't want to play that anymore, because no one got their ear blown off in January 6th. The only person that got shot was Ashley Babbitt. Not a big fan of crawling through a broken window at the Capitol. Not saying she deserved what she got, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But if that's the worst you got is January 6th, then shut up. You're no longer allowed in the conversation. You're not a believable person.
Congressman that Am I still on?
Yes.
There was no congressman that day or any Capitol personnel that day that were killed or almost killed or even injured. Not even a scratch on the finger. And so the comparisons are apples and oranges.
Hey, and when,
that's putting it lightly.
Right. And let me talk to the other people listening to us, Zach.
Sure.
Listen to Zach here. And when you go to work on Monday, don't forget about this and don't go back to like, well, I know that they're not really Nazis, but they're just upset. No, just stand firm. Remember how upset you are right now. And if anybody brings up anything about January 6th, just shut them up. This is what we did after 9/11. After 9/11, all the America haters, all the people were like, country sucks. They really did shut up for about 2 years. They shut up until the next presidential election cycle rolled around. And I want that coming up on Monday. I want y'all to listen to Zach. Thank you very much for your call, Zach.
Thank
you. I want you to not forget how you feel right now. And the next time someone's called a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or an Islamophobe or a xenophobe or a Nazi because you want something as simple as like voter ID, or because you turn on the TV and you're like, you should quit slandering my country so bad. Don't let your country be slandered. Don't let half the country be slandered. Don't let your political party be slandered like that. And look, this is already catching on. This happened 5 hours ago now. UFC, they do their big fights on Saturdays. And what we have, it's in Denver this weekend. I know you're not a big MMA fan. Stick with me here. You're going to like where I'm going. In one of the fights on the card today is a guy named Evan Elder. He's fighting Darius Flowers in the welterweight division. He wins. And then afterwards, you're going to enjoy this little 10 seconds of audio. They send a guy out there with a suit to go talk to the sweaty guy that's running around in his drawers with a bunch of tattoos on, puts a mic in his face, and he says this. Hear that crowd? You hear Evan Elder? You hear how it's already playing out? That's amazing. You're witnessing history right now. This is happening. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. And I feel weird taking the compliments from the people who are like, thank you for doing what you're doing tonight. Thank you for stepping up, and you could be hanging out with your family tonight, but you're here working this out with us. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I already hung out with my family today. When this happened, I was watching a movie on the couch with Miss Parker, and it was beautiful. It was idyllic. Hi, Miss Parker. Before that, I was doing before that? I was playing in the sprinkler in the front yard with my little kids. I have 4 kids, and all 4 of us, we did the thing that you did when you were a kid. We jumped through the sprinkler because it's the middle of July. It's hot as hell. So I was having the most wholesome, familial, perfect, all-American day. Just being a dad, not going to work, not dealing with any of the stress, not having any events, or going to a game or something. Just doing the perfect, what you dream you do on every weekend. And now I get to do this. Now I get to cover history, because one of the reasons why you're happy I'm here is because you got a lot going on inside you right now. It's a whirlwind. We all felt it. The emotions swirl, and they should. And this is an outlet for that. So, oh my God, what do you mean? What do you think they had to talk me in to coming and doing radio tonight? You think they had to talk me into coming and having a chat with you? I'm dying to talk to you about this. I couldn't wait. I would have kicked off everyone until 2:00 in the morning if they let me. I got to cut it off somewhere, but no, I'm happy to be here. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. It was cute because I had a friend of mine say, well, I guess I know what your show is going to be about on Monday. I said, Monday, nothing. I'm going live at 9. I'm taking over as soon as Ernie gets done. So I would like credit, by the way. I played you just a few minutes ago, but about 10 minutes ago, a piece of audio that I played on the show last week. And I don't mean last week.
Hey, we're going live to Fox right now.
Oh, okay. We have some important breaking news. We're going to go live to Fox right now.
We have intelligence analysts as well, working from our field office in Pittsburgh, working feverishly to attempt to identify the individual who did this and any motives behind why this was done. Right now, we need the.
Oy, so the TV feed crapped out. The audio sucks, but luckily Bushman's got it on.
Identified any information, please report that to the FBI.
I'll let you know when we're coming back.
Call FBI.
I could pull this from C-SPAN
or
if you wanted.
online at
Bushman sounds fine though.
.gov/.
Yeah, this one sounds good.
This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well. Again, at this time, we are not prepared to identify who the shooter is. We are close to that identification, and as soon as we are 100% confident in who that individual is, we will share it with the press. With that being said, also, we do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. At this time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Colonel Chris Paris from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Thank you very much. My name is Colonel Chris Paris, P-A-R-I-S, Commissioner of Pennsylvania State Police. I would just like to say that the state police have been in regular contact with the governor's office, and the full support and assets of the entire agency are behind the FBI and our other federal and municipal partners to assist with this investigation. The thoughts and prayers of the Pennsylvania State Police are likewise with the victims of this terrible act. We are prepared to support this investigation in any way, shape, or form, and we stand ready to participate in a full, fair, and competent and thorough investigation. To give you an operational rundown, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, is behind me, and he will discuss the operational portion that's being conducted by the Pennsylvania State Police. Lieutenant Colonel Bivens.
Good evening. So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene that we have over there. As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening, and within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims. PSP had a significant presence on the scene along with all of our federal partners at the time of the shooting. We have since enhanced that presence significantly, bringing in resources from all over the Commonwealth to ensure that we have a speedy, thorough investigation. We are working very closely with the FBI as we work through this. As you can imagine, because of the variety of crimes that have been committed, some are under federal jurisdiction, some are under state jurisdiction. And so, we're working through all of that, not an issue at all. We work seamlessly, but the FBI has maintained the lead on the attempted assassination. PSP will take the lead on the homicide and the shootings of the other individuals in the grandstand area. And so there are a lot of witnesses to be interviewed, a lot of things to be processed. There were some complicators. Hopefully the next time we speak, we can describe for you, but some complicators that slowed down some of the processing and the positive identification of the shooter. But know that at this time, we have no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. We are doing everything we can to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, and that if there is any information developed that anyone else was involved, that between PSP and the FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on. So I think at this time we would open it up to questions from all of you.
Was this a lone wolf attack?
Again, I think it's too early to say that. We have one shooter tentatively identified, but we're not stopping there. We're following up on a lot of information. It will be some time until we can conclusively say or answer that question.
How long do you think that gunman was hiding up there? I mean, we saw the snipers up there, as the crowds were kind of rolling in. It looked like they had a pretty good viewpoint to check everyone out. So how long has that guy been up there?
Again, that'll all be part of the investigation, but
Can you come up to the mics, please?
that will all be part of the investigation. But I can tell you that preliminarily it appears everything unfolded very quickly. So, again, we'll have more information on that, but it's just too early to start definitively saying this happened at this exact time.
But it wasn't like he was inside the security perimeter, right? That building he was on was outside of the
That's
area
correct.
that's usually checked. How far outside of it was it?
We'll have that information for you. It was some distance outside of the
Colonel, can you come out reports that there were people who saw someone on the roof and tried to alert authorities?
We're following up on those. I will tell you that I am aware of those, and I am aware that law enforcement had responded to a number of reports of suspicious activity. The specific response to this will be all part of the after action, but yes, law enforcement was responding to check on several suspicious occurrences.
All right, it is 11 o'clock now, straight up. I'm Eric Bushman in the WBAP 24/7 news desk. We were hoping that this was going to be a briefing that was going to include the FBI and Secret Service, and it appears that this is just a local authority briefing, and they're taking questions now. We're going to go ahead and bow out of that, but if anything more of interest comes out of that, we will, of course, go back into it. You're listening to News Talk 820 WBAP, Fort Worth, Dallas, 93.3 WBAP FM, Haltom City, Dallas, 99.5 FM HD2, KPLX, Fort Worth, Dallas, and being simulcast tonight.
Great. Jake was mentioning that Secret Service wasn't at the briefing, so that means that we're going to get calls that Secret Service was in on it.
Investigated as an assassination attempt. The former president says he was shot. He said he heard a whizzing sound and felt a bullet rip through his skin. He says a bullet.
All right.
And much bleeding took place. This is from a
One more hour.
Social. The Secret Service says multiple shots were fired toward the stage from an elevated position. The gunman was immediately shot and killed by the Secret Service. The FBI will take the lead in this investigation. North Texas's connection, obviously, following the Kennedy. Changed where any harm to the president, or in this case, former president, would be investigated at the federal level. This is not going to be investigated, at least the injury to the former President Trump, by local officials in Butler, Pennsylvania. One person at the rally was killed. 2 others were critically injured. And this is how it happened when it happened.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
The Secret Service then rushed the former president away. Trump pumped his fist in the air. The former president has left a Pennsylvania hospital after being shot in an assassination attempt. Congressman Roger Williams of North Texas is among those speaking out.
I'm mad as heck right now. We don't know anything. I don't know anything about the perpetrator. I haven't heard. But it gets back to being up there every single day. We talk about it. Is the hate and the anger and the dislike for people right now never works out. We've got an election coming up. We need to elect people, fair and square, and we need to be calm about it.
Former President George W. Bush said that he and Laura Bush are grateful President Trump is safe following the cowardly attack on his life. The 43rd president went on in a statement tonight saying that we commend the men and women of the Secret Service for their speedy response. The attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump has led the Biden campaign to suspend negative campaign ads. Fox's Peter Doocy has the latest on the president, who is en route back to Washington tonight, cutting his weekend vacation in Delaware short.
They're going to,
Yay! All right.
All outgoing political communication from Wilmington. So anything nasty about Trump for the next couple days, it sounds like, is going to come down. And they are in the process right now on Saturday night of reaching out to TV stations and network.
At midnight, if you want, on the lockout close to midnight, you could, if you want, you can mention Red Eye Radio Live with Chris Crock.
Oh, is he filling in tonight
from the city
on a Saturday?
They usually it's best stuff, but I think they realize that this is kind of big. So
good for
Joe Biden and former President Donald.
Is he in the studio
over the phone?
I think he's going to be on Access over at the studios in Farmers Branch where they do Red Eye Radio
tonight. That quote: "There's no place in America for this type of violence."
Oh, I was going to invite him on.
That is the latest.
That would have been awesome, but yeah, he's going to be filling in over there instead.
820 WBAP, and now
okay, here we go. Go.
Welcome. You're listening to live coverage on WBAP. This is special programming because history happened today. There was an assassination attempt on President Trump. He survived. He's going to be okay. And we're just parsing through it. We were hoping to get some information on the shooter because this is the next game we all play. You know, you and I haven't been able to talk about this our entire lives because something like this hasn't happened since I was like 3, I think, is when Reagan got shot. I was 3. So we've talked. The closest thing that you and I've talked about is when any number of these mass shootings happen, we play this game afterwards because there is a little window of ignorance. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean literally we don't know who the shooter is. And so it's almost like this ugly little game of racial bingo. I mean, it's kind of fun to play, but it's not, fun circumstances under which to play a game. And we always have fun watching people do the little dance that they do around demographics or ideologies or motivations or whatnot. And it feels like what we're doing here, because this is the next big piece of information that is going to catalog this historic moment in your mind. Was this a John Hinckley? Because that's what happened in, what was that, 1981 when Reagan got shot. It was a crazy man. He wasn't motivated by politics. He wasn't a Jimmy Carter volunteer. He didn't work on the staff for, I don't know, George McGovern or Wendell Willkie or whoever else. This was a guy who was, wasn't he trying to get the attention of Jodie Foster? That's not going to work out. She bats for the other team, bro. She bats left-handed. You don't have a chance. So, no, but that was just a crazy person. Psychopath, probably hearing voices or whatever. He's out of jail by now. The guy who shot Reagan, he got out of jail a couple of years ago. He's a free man, just walking around Dallas, having a good old time. I think he lives in Highland Park. I think he lives over there by you. But so that's the closest analog we have in history. But there are other kind of more nuanced circumstances. I think of JFK. Yeah. So Lee Harvey Oswald, to the left of JFK, he's a bona fide communist, like visits Russia and everything. And look, the conspiracy theorists, you may want to argue with me or whatnot, but let's just go with what we have for the sake of comparison here. And that appears to be a guy who is crazy, sort of a lone actor, but may have been pushed in that direction, may have been given a little assistance or a little bit of a nudge, just a little bit of an elbow push from the CIA or from internal actors in our government. CIA released documents last year saying, we totally were. We can't say we totally weren't involved. How about that? And so what is that? What this is? Was this some crazy guy who just got nudged in the right direction? Because already I've had 4 callers bring up the fact that the Secret Service messing up this bad is such a bad mistake. It's suspicious. Suspicious because what? Because it's a bunch of DEI hires, or the more dastardly. Look, this is base speculation. I know nothing. I have no defense background, no law enforcement background. But damn, the guy got so close that the Secret Service, did they want this to happen? Did they let it happen? Because there's a lot of coincidences here. What we're learning since the shooting happened is how close the building was. This guy was on the roof of a building. The guy that we think pulled the trigger, allegedly, reportedly, whatever, lawyers, they're listening to this after the fact. But that building is a lot closer than I expected it to be. when the shooting happened, and for the few hours that I didn't know where the building was, when I found out how close it was and what angle it was at, how did a guy get up there? How did a guy get that close? Now, I've heard reporting from callers, but I haven't seen it myself. I've seen it in print online, but that's not the same thing as being from a reputable source. That there was a handful of people in the crowd pointing out to the fact that for 2 minutes there was a guy that crawled up on the roof and set up a rifle and took a shot, and they were trying to get law enforcement to do something about it. Is law enforcement that slow to react? Are they that bad at putting up perimeters? Was it just this one time they were sloppy and they've just nailed it every other event? Or has there been openings like this at many events, and just most events don't happen to have a freelance sniper roaming the territory, and this one did, and that was the difference? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-WBAP. I've spent 22 years. Next month will be 22 years I've been in radio, and I've been honing my ability to craft a story and tell a story and use the right words in the right order with the right inflection and the right melody and the right speed. And I haven't been doing a whole lot of law enforcement. Hadn't been doing a whole lot of snipering in the last 22 years. So I've been leaning on a lot of expertise from the listeners. If you have any expertise, I would love to hear from you in a moment like this. Because the rest of us are just wondering what's going on. If you know something we don't share, we'll feel better and we will thank you. So 800-288-9227. That spells WBAP, the 9227 part. 800-288-WBAP. Jeff in Grapevine, you're on WBAP talking with James Parker in special coverage. What did you think happened today?
James, hey, buddy. Appreciate you, everything you do, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this job, so it feels weird saying thank you, but go ahead.
No. Hey, man, it's not easy, and we appreciate you. So I have a lot of thoughts of what happened today. The only reason I was calling in today was you've had a lot of experts come on and all that kind of stuff, but they keep talking about windage. Does that make sense?
Hang on, man. No one has said windage this whole show. I've been on for almost 2.5 hours now. No one has said windage. So are you talking about something you heard on like a CNN or a Fox News or something? Or are you talking about something you heard on this show?
No, and it could have been like windage on the shot. Like, they were saying, hey, the windage or how he turned his face or whatever.
Okay.
Like when you have a scope and you shoot a gun, you worry about the windage, right? If it's left or right, whatever. But what they haven't talked about is the humidity. And the reason that maybe the shot was not exactly where it went, because the humidity, it affects how the bullet travels. Does that make sense?
It does, but this looks like a shot that was maybe 100, or I would say 200 yards away. And we're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania. So it's Pennsylvania, not over there by the coast is all. I mean, not a geography expert, but it doesn't seem like humidity would be much of an issue. Explain this part. Because I could be wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, no, I haven't thought of this.
So no, if you look at ballistics, so it's like, it's the bullet, it could, and again, I haven't heard your whole show, but like, I appreciate you coming on very, very much. I appreciate it. So like the windage can control the bullet. And if y'all haven't talked about that, my bad. But the other thing that can control it is humidity. And a lot of people that are not experts, they do not consider humidity. Humidity, when you shoot a bullet, changes the trajectory. So if this person was not trained in that area, if they were not, if they were not used to that humidity or whatever, from what I've heard, this was like inches away, right, from a kill shot to a ear shot.
Yeah. Well, listen, so what little I do know about snipering, about 90% of it comes from Chris Kyle's book, The American Sniper. And he talks
Yes,
about
sir.
like the rotation of the bullet will pull it in one certain direction based on the wind. I really don't think he ever mentioned anything about humidity. Does it slow the bullet down? Does it make how it gets pulled by the rotation? Does it make that more pronounced? Like, no, I really don't know anything about this.
Yeah, so you'll have to look into it more, but like humidity affects the bullet travel tremendously.
Okay.
Think about it.
All right. Even from something relatively close like that, huh?
One thing. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it's all that, and those guys, they're trying to make headlines and all. I'm not trying to make a headline. Humidity.
Well, yeah,
Go shoot a bullet.
and look, we're not just talking about like the nuance of how bullets spin, because I get the larger point you're making is this guy is probably you're leaning towards an amateur. So now you can almost X out the idea that it was any foreign state actor. You can almost X out the idea that it was set up from someone within the government that's actually a sniper, like a legit government sniper. So this wasn't an inside job. This wasn't a foreign job. This was some Yahoo. So we're just left with the Yahoo. And I'm sorry for the lame terms here, but I don't know what the term is for that. but so that does cordon off, or your little nuanced discussion of bullets here. It counts because it does cordon off a whole lot of theories on who this could be. And until the freaking FBI tells us, this is all we got.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, you got a great show, but it could be a foreign actor. It could be somebody else. It could be if they're not from a dry area, or if they're not from a humid area, and that's where they're used to shooting. That's why their shot was off.
Oh, see, yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah,
All right.
They've been trained in the jungles, and now they're in a dry, humid area. The bullet travels differently.
All right. Well, something else to think about. I appreciate it, Jeff and Grapevine. Let's go to Mike and Keller. Mike and Keller, you're on with special coverage on WBAP, talking with James Parker. What do you think happened today?
I think what happened today, first of all, the shooter who was on top of the building, I already saw a picture of him. I told the screener. I saw a picture of him in the prone position. The question is going to be is how come the rooftops of all buildings around that area wasn't covered or secured? That's the first question that's going to come up. It's already up. I'm sure they already know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now we're all that stinks to talk about, but we need to talk about it because is the Secret Service negligent, like reckless, or did they let it happen? And so I don't like to think about that, but if it's that bad, Mike, but there's also
you gotta call it. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say there's also the idea that they did clear the building, and so once the building was cleared, then he snuck past the perimeter they made and got on anyway.
No, normally when I guess a profile event like that, they would have someone up on that roof. All buildings, all high top buildings, there's a body that's on their sniper teams on every high building, so they can oversee everything that's below them, just in case.
Right. We've seen that in a lot of movies. There's a lot of Secret Service themed movies where they have snipers everywhere constantly looking on rooftops. What happened to those guys?
Right. They're normally on the highest point in the area, and they normally shut the whole building down, not allowing no one to come up to certain levels in that building, especially being on a weekend like this. If that person wasn't essential to be at work, they wouldn't have been in that building. Better yet, being on that body roof, they would have swept all rooftops. So that's the first question that's up out there already.
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm sure they already know who that maggot who requested a dirt nap and received this dirt nap today. They know who he is, but they just haven't went public with who his name is and who he's affiliated with and everything else. It's like I told you, if you go to dailymail.com, they got the picture of him laying down in the prone already up there online. And it's just sad that situation have taken place. And when you were saying something about maybe the women that they've had on that detail on that stage, I guarantee you they full of Carolina Reaper sauce. I promise you. None of them are no wimps because they know the mission when it comes down to it, that they willing to take that bullet.
All right,
You
listen.
don't want to take the bullet, don't sign up for it.
Hang on a second, Mike and Keller. Don't hang up. I just want to give you credit here. You're the hero of the show today. Because when you said dailymail.com, I thought to myself, well, he means dailymail.co.uk. And I'm sort of borderline autistic. So listen, when I was thinking that, I typed it in, and the top story on dailymail.co.uk is the FBI has named the shooter. So
right.
Well, that's news to me. I didn't know they named it. This just came out. We have breaking news here that was just updated 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, they said the gunman who tried to assassinate Donald Trump has been identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, according to reports. All right, listen, y'all. I am cold reading an article that was pointed to me by a caller. I haven't read this before, so I don't usually do this. We're just in a weird situation where I don't have time to prep and check this out beforehand. He's reported to be a 20-year-old from Bethel Park, fired shots at the former president from a roof 130 yards away from the rally stage. So now we have, oh man, see, that's more information. Now we know how far away he was and reportedly his name and his age. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Look, I'm not happy to know this stuff. I'm just happy for some of these questions to be answered here. It says Crooks killed a member of the rally crowd, shot Trump through the ear, and then was shot and killed by Secret Service agents. The New York Post was first to identify Crooks. Well, congratulations, New York Post. The FBI have not yet formally released his name. Okay, so this Daily Mail article is linking back to the New York Post article. So this is not their report. This is the New York Post report. And yeah, they have 20-year-old Philadelphia. I just clicked through the New York Post. 20-year-old PA man identified as assassin. There you go. Here's another article. Ooh, they just put up one right now. Thomas Matthew Crooks ID'd as gunman who shot Trump during PA rally. Okay, that's from the New York Post. There. Man, that's crazy. They just put this up and it has 300 comments on it. Identifies 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Sources told the Post. All right, so this is before the FBI has released it. So take this with a grain of salt. I know that I try and give you stuff that I know is correct and has been confirmed and verified, but we're not in that territory right now just because this is such a new story. I apologize if this is wrong, but this is what the New York Post is reporting. Sources said Crooks was planted on a roof of a manufacturing plant more than 130 yards away from the stage at Butler Farm Showgrounds. Oh, so that's the name of the place, Butler Farm Showgrounds. Good. Now I can go look at that in Google Maps. What a helpful update. Finally. And then they have that picture. That's it. That's pretty much the whole update there. They have the picture of him when he's going off the stage. He has his fist raised. There's blood going down his cheek. And there's an American flag that's fluttering above his head. That is such Pulitzer amazing material. I just can't believe it. All right. So we got some work to do. Sleuths out there are already working on the name. Don't be suspicious just because they use the three names. But Thomas Matthew Crooks. This is from a preliminary, meaning it's not confirmed by officials, but this is from a preliminary report on the New York Post just a few minutes ago. Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old. Okay, so that actually helps out. 20-year-old puts you in a couple of categories. Number one, your military age. If the reports that he's wearing the battle fatigues, he's wearing like the gray and the camo pants. He could be a guy who is in a military. He could be a guy who tried to go to boot camp and washed out, maybe because he's too crazy or whatever. But the idea that he could be a foreign state actor, well, less likely, given his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. What did he come from? New Zealand? Yeah, well, he didn't come from Iran. We know that. Thomas Matthew Crooks. He has three English names, and I mean, very English names. So that really narrows it down. This was not an act of terror. This was not an act, probably of a foreign state. This is not a Russian plant. 20 years old. You know, there's different categories that we've started to put some of these other mass shooters in. These guys that are 20. It's like, well, what is he politically motivated? Is he like an Antifa guy? Is he like an incel guy? You know, because that's one of the things you noticed about the Las Vegas shooter. It's weird to have a 56-year-old, or how he was an older mass shooter. Forgot what his age was, but he was like older than me. So that was weird. Yeah, and oh, you know what? So the New York Post does have that picture. Now, I have seen this before of the guy, and he's wearing the gray fatigue looking shirt, and on the sleeve you can see the American flag backwards, but it's just in black and white. Really, it's just in black ink. So this looks very military. His pants are camo too. You can see the blood on his face. He looks like a white guy with brown hair. That's part of the look. I know that's it's ugly and it's abrasive right now, but it counts as news. We do play this racial bingo game where it's a white guy with brown hair. Okay, so good. So that narrows it down a little more. It's not a Nation of Islam guy. It's not a Muslim terrorist. You know, with some exceptions, the Boston Marathon bombers were white guys who were Muslim terrorists too, but not Thomas Matthew Cooks. So this thing is really getting whittled down. We're now waiting on motive. That's the one thing we don't have is motive. Is he a crazy John Hinckley guy who's doing this to get the attention of Jodie Foster, or is he part of some large political movement or political group? Is he a single actor, or is he in like a Weather Underground? You know, the Bill Ayers, Bernadine Dorn, bunch of fun people that were running around willy-nilly tossing bombs in the 70s. You know, is he part of a larger movement? We don't we don't know, but the scope of speculation is narrowing with the new information. Also, in the report from the New York Post, that other one that I clicked first before I got to this one, I went back to that, and I can read while I'm talking because I've done this job a lot. It says an AR style rifle was later recovered. Dude, don't even start with that crap right now. And what is an AR style rifle? What does that even mean? Do you know? If you know the caliber and you know the make, then report it. If you don't, and it just looks like a scary gun, this is what you write. So this reporter just loses a lot of credibility. Although they're scaring them being scared of guns when they say Bethel Park is a village 40 miles south of where Butler rally was held. Okay, they wouldn't lie about that. Why Crooks fired on the presumptive Republican presidential nominee is unclear. And I would like to go full bore and say, we need to keep liberals in check. They're out of control and they're inciting violence. But this could be a John Hinckley guy. This could be, let's not go crazy yet. And look, when we do find out, you have permission for me to go crazy. And I'll be with you, standing next to you with the flamethrower, torching them right along with you. But there's no need to get upset about things that we can't confirm yet. So let's wait on the motive. That being said, dude, I was watching this with my kid earlier, and I was he looked at me and said, has this ever happened before? And I had to have like the weird discussion because like kids don't know when to freak out. Kids freak out when they look to their right and their left and people are freaking out, right? It's like a communicable freak out for kids. And so I could tell that he was looking at me and deciding whether or not he was going to be freaked out. And so look, dads can put on the facade pretty easily, but then again, maybe kids can see through it. But I really wasn't freaked out by this. I was emotional though. I wasn't scared. The fact that he got up within a minute and did the fist pump and everything, that's exactly what I needed to see. But I would say the word for this is sobering. This is a very sobering event that happened today. We don't like to get rolled up in politics. It's not fun. It's not cool. It doesn't make you any friends. It probably loses you more friends than you make even. And it's the part of life that you wish you didn't have to pay this much attention to, but guess what? Now you do. I want to hear from you. 800-288-WBAP. I'm going to squeeze in a call before we get a news update from Bushman over there. Tyler in 7 points. You're talking to James Parker on WBAP. What do you think?
I think, well, the last update that I got was a Nation guy, and I figured just follow the money after that. And I agreed with that Marine and the police officer afterwards, after him, that, I mean, the way this was going, it was just damn crazy.
I agree. Look, the one piece of speculation we have left is motive. We have reports from the New York Post, again, preliminary report that says this was a 20-year-old Pennsylvania guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks. What does that tell you? What do you think is his motive?
Antifa.
Right? Okay. That fits. That tracks. Antifa usually wears all black, because they like to match or
they don't wear all black. I mean, they'll wear anything they can. I mean, they were in September 6th or January 6th. They wear whatever they want to.
So even with the camo pants and the American flag on the sleeve, gray shirt, that still sounds Antifa to you? Because that doesn't sound Antifa to me.
Well, it doesn't sound American to me. So
agreed. Where is 7 points?
Oh, it's down by Bug Tussle.
Oh, you're over in my neck of the woods?
Well, it's over Cedar Creek Lake.
What do you like, by Gun Barrel City or something?
Yeah, right next to it.
Okay. All right. I think I know what you're talking about then. All right. Well, I definitely know Cedar Creek Lake. Thanks for calling in. So motive Antifa by Tyler in 7 points. That's probably the most likely scenario, right? It's a guy that isn't really part of a larger movement, as in like some dorky Marxist college kids in berets or whatever Marxist college kids are wearing these days. It's not like they had a meeting and they're like, all right, what was his name? Thomas. All right, Tom, you're going to go out and we're going to get you all set up, and we'll have Blake or Ashley over here to distract the guard while you get on the roof. So it probably wasn't like a larger heist with a whole lot of people involved. It's probably a lone wolf guy out there who figures out this is probably the best way that he's going to improve the world, is by shooting the guy he's been convinced is Hitler. All right, let's get a news update. After that, I want to talk to you again. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. This is continuing coverage of the attempted Trump assassination. I'm James Parker. It's WBAP.
You're clear.
This is a breaking news alert from News Talk 820 WBAP.
And now on FM at 93.3.
Former President Donald Trump shot in an assassination attempt. I'm Eric Bushman from the WBAP 24/7 News Desk. Shots fired at former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
All right, you got about 2.5 minutes.
Assassination attempt. Former President Trump says he was shot. He says he heard a whizzing sound and felt a bullet rip through his skin. He says a bullet pierced the upper part of his ear and much bleeding took place. That from a post tonight on Truth Social. The Secret Service says multiple shots were fired toward the stage from an elevated position. The gunman was immediately shot and killed by the Secret Service.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
The Secret Service rushed the former president away, Trump pumping his fists in the air, saying, fight, fight, fight. Republican Congressman Steve Scalise tonight is among lawmakers from both sides of the aisle reacting to the assassination attempt. Scalise, of course, knows what it's like to be the target of gunfire, as he was shot and gravely injured during a practice session for the annual congressional baseball game in Virginia in June of 2017. He told Fox News tonight he recalls the concern the former president showed him the day he was shot.
That night, Donald Trump came to the hospital to check on me and just to console my family. And that was his birthday. He left a birthday party to come and check on me, and just the kind of person he is. I texted him a little while ago because he he's a special man. He's a strong man. I know that. But he's a caring person. He cares about people. He cares about this country.
Meanwhile, President Biden gave remarks on the shooting. Here's Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
President Joe Biden addressed the nation in reaction to what law enforcement officials are calling an attempted assassination of former President Trump during a rally in the Pittsburgh area. In remarks from Delaware, the president said, quote, everybody must condemn the attack on Trump.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
The Trump campaign says the former president is, quote, fine. The shooter was killed by the Secret Service. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
I'm Eric Bushman.
All right, here we go.
Today and keep connected, DFW, to News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
You're up.
Welcome back to continuing coverage on WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker from The James Show. Look, I'll be on Monday, 2 to 5, as I am every weekday. And I know what we're going to talk about today. History was made. History's still happening. This story is not done. We now have a reported name, a preliminary name, meaning it hasn't been confirmed by law enforcement officials. But we still don't have a motive. We still don't know if this guy was part of a larger group, if he was a lone actor, if he was a psychopath, if he was some delusional guy who was off his meds, or if he knew what he was doing. He was just convinced that Trump was Hitler and thinks he's helping the world. But the New York Post gets the credit. If they end up being correct on this, they will be the first person to break the name Thomas Matthew Crooks. That's the report. The identity is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. I want to hear from you. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Does that sound right to you? Some 20-year-old dude named Thomas? Looks like a white guy. And look, I don't know what happened, but starting about 5 years ago, every man, especially white guy from like age 15 to 20, they all look like alpacas. They have alpaca hair, because it used to be like the Justin Bieber swoosh across the front, or like back in the day, we used to get like a chili bowl haircut, but now they look like alpacas. He had an alpaca haircut. And so Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, is the name we have reported. Why? Why did Thomas do this? Why did he try to kill Donald Trump? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Let's talk to Lloyd in McKinney. You're on WBAP. What do you think, Lloyd? What happened today?
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate you coming out here and doing this. Hey, well, look at the evidence that we have. 20-year-olds are not typically too involved in politics and affected by them. I know when I was 20, I wasn't. So we have a young man that's probably easily impressible.
Right.
We have the fact that after he took the shot, it took 4 seconds before they took him out. You can't locate somebody that fast, line up your shot, and take it. So they had to have eyes on him. I'm saying it's an inside job.
All right, let's count then, because I'm not saying you're wrong, but we do have the audio file in front of us so we can count. Okay, so here, I'll just set it up. You listening with me?
Said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, so from the first shot, I can highlight it with my little mouse here. From the first shot to the return fire, 4.3 seconds. So
how can you locate somebody that you had no eyes on and take him out in that amount of time?
Okay, so maybe they did have eyes on him. Maybe because we've heard reports of people saying, hey, he's up there, he's got a gun. And what if law enforcement was being alerted at the time, and just about the time they got to him, they just got to him 4 seconds too late? Is that too crazy?
That is not too crazy. The odds of probability, I don't know them, but I would say it's more likely that, because what's the odds really that they were 4 seconds too late? They probably knew he was there.
Well, I mean, what's that based on? How would they know he was there?
Inside job.
Okay. Look, I have no basis to argue against you. I really hope that's not the case. because that opens up a
I hope
whole
so, too.
nother can of worms. But look, I can't tell you you're wrong. 4.3 seconds is really quick for return fire. I can rationalize it.
Why wouldn't they have it more blocked off too, with out of sight or rifle range? Like that doesn't make sense. That looks suspicious. People were notifying the police. They didn't do anything. That's suspicious. They let him stay on stage. That's suspicious. None of this makes sense unless, like I said.
Well, they meat shielded him immediately on stage. Whoever was on stage, if it was an inside job, they weren't in on it because they covered him like I think they're supposed to. I also have questions here because now that I figured out where it's at from the New York Post article, I went and pulled it up on Google Maps, and me and the video feed people are watching it. But okay, so if he was set up on the right side of Trump over here, then where did the sniper that took him out come from? Where was the Secret Service guy that shot him 4.3 seconds later? So a lot of questions up in the air, and I don't have answers, and I wish I could tell you you're wrong, but I can't. You might be right. The thing, all right, let me ask you this then, because you sound a little more confident than I do. If it is an inside job, how do they get busted? Couldn't they cover that up pretty easily and we'll never know?
Well, that guy won't talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So the shooter, though, isn't the mastermind. There has to be a mastermind above it. I think if the shooter.
How long have we been saying that Biden is not calling the shots?
Oh, you're right. That certainly feeds into that. But listen, Lloyd, let's remember, let's put a thumbtack in Lloyd and McKinney's theory here, because if that shooter ever ends up dead, then Lloyd's probably right. How about that?
There we go.
Keep listening to the show. If that guy ends up dead, you call in and you'll get like 100 points. You'll score so big with that. Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you.
All right. Lori in peril. Lori, you're next up on WBAP talking to James Parker. What do you think happened today?
Hi there. I was just wanting to comment on one little thing that you said about all the women being on the Secret Service. And I'm not one of those women that's going to be griping, about the feminism crap, because we all have our place. But I wanted to say, have you seen a lioness protect her king?
I'm a big fan of Discovery Channel, and that was I don't want to blame Miss.
She picked up his hat and covered him.
Right. Hey, don't let him lose his hat now. It's very stylish. So the I like the point that you're making, but I also like the fact that
we have to protect our king that protects us to have our pride, and we are prideful.
No,
are we
look,
not?
I like this discussion because it really boils down to guns, because the argument against having female Secret Service agents is that so many guys can just whoop the snot out of them, right? Just physically speaking, but a gun totally equalizes all that. So a female Secret Service agent can be a meat shield to the president just as good as a guy can. Or if there's a guy that's trying to take out
the men, are we?
Say that again.
I said, we're not as expected to be the ones that would attack as much as the man was.
Look, give yourself credit. Also, feminist, you can pat yourself on the back. This was not a female.
No. Don't call me feminist.
No, I'm not calling you feminist. I'm talking to other people listening to us right now. It's not just you and me. You realize we're talking to at least like 6 or 7 people out there.
My EDC has a honey badger on the back because I don't give a damn.
Oh, that's so sweet. But feminists, pat yourself on the back today because there was an attempted presidential assassin, and again, it wasn't a female. Look at all the women
have to protect our lions.
I know, but look at it from the other way. Of all the presidential assassins and attempted presidential assassins, how many of them have been women? I think you're still at 0.
Of course not.
All right. Well, you held your own for the lionesses out there, but rest assured, unless you're dealing with like a Brittany Griner or whatever, Tatiana Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, I saw all those Secret Service women. I bet I could whoop half of them.
Yeah, well, we will do our best.
All right.
To protect our men is all I'm saying.
I appreciate that,
and
Lori.
I would definitely step up and cover our former president as well.
Could you whoop me?
I would damn try.
Oh, all right.
If
all
I
right.
needed to. I mean, for our president.
I look. I appreciate the noble effort there, but I'm a big dude, Laura. You would not appreciate that job. All right, that's fine. I'm just kidding. I'm just having a little intersex threats. That's all. Thank you, Lori. Let's go to Mike.
I thought you was on our side. Sorry.
No, I'm totally on your side. Mike in Wyoming. Wyoming. How are you listening in Wyoming? I mean, thanks for calling in, but Mike in Wyoming, you're on WBAP. First, how are you listening?
Well, I'm listening in a little place called Big Spring, Texas.
Oh,
I
well, that's
travel
much
a
closer.
lot.
Okay, so you're in West Texas. I got you. We beat you all in the playoffs one year. It was great. Go ahead.
All right, so I just want to say thanks to the servicemen, like the, I don't know, so-called president protectors. I don't understand how you can just get 250-yard perimeter on something like that when I can shoot an elk at 350, maybe even 400 yards. I don't understand why. I'm just really confused on how they can have such a short perimeter on that area.
So the guy,
such a large area.
We have the report from the New York Post that says the shot was taken from about 130 yards away. That's really close.
Man, I just bagged an elk 2 years ago at 350. Are you kidding me?
All right.
And I don't care about dew points. I don't care about the wind or nothing like that. It's just crazy. I don't know if this thing was staged, but I think it's kind of fishy because somebody let something happen, and it had to be through. It had to be through a higher source. It couldn't have been. It could have been
Mike,
through the people that protect.
Mike, it's just you and me. Go ahead and tell me what you're getting to. What do you think happened?
Okay, well, honestly, at a shot, what'd you say? It was 235.
130.
Whatever it was.
130.
130. You know what I'm looking at right now? I'm looking at a highway that's 130 away from me right now. I could shoot a semi truck from there and kill somebody. Somebody let that happen.
Right. Look, we get it. Mike, you're a good shot. Are you leaning into the fact that this looks like an inside job?
I honestly kind of do, because here's the deal. When I heard President Trump was shot today, and I was out in the field, and all four of us, we were like, did you just hear that? President Trump was shot. We're like, what? So we actually stopped what we were doing. We grouped around and listened to the news. And we listened to what was happening. And I'm like, this can't be happening. Like, no, it's happening. So my coworker says, you know what? If they can't take him out through the law, they said they were going to take him out some other way. So I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, I'm going to use your call as a really good reminder that I probably need to play this cut again. Hang on with me just a second.
I'm not big into conspiracies or nothing, but I will tell you, sir, that I don't think. I mean, why were those snipers in place already? Which they always are, but why was the perimeter set so short? That's my question. And when I can shoot an elk,
I do not have an answer for that. Listen, okay, so here's what I'm going to play for you, and thank you for your call. So Tucker Carlson was on Adam Carolla's podcast about 6 months ago, and he said something. And look, we said this on the James Show. I've had callers say this on the James Show, but it means more when someone else says it. Listen to this. This was Tucker Carlson on Adam Carolla 6 months back.
They called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that. But I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him.
That's not something you can laugh off anymore. That's not something you can say, oh, Tucker, you're being so, no one's going to try and kill him. Oh, look at you being so dramatic. No, we could get lectured about right-wing death squads or January 6th or the violence coming from white supremacist domestic terrorists, Gretchen Whitmer, all that garbage. But no, this really happened. 800-288-9227. Let's go back to the phones. Vincent, up in Farmersville. You're on WBAP talking to James Parker. What do you think happened, Vincent?
Hey, James. I'd just like to let you know I love your show. I listen to you all the time. You're a fresh breath of air into that slot that you fill. But I want to know why my Secret Service, that is supposed to be the most highly trained people to take care of my president, are screaming out, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? It sounded like 3 times. If you'll play the audio, you can hear it. They didn't know what to do at that critical moment.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So let's speculate, because there's really only like 3 answers to your question. It's like, why did they not know what to do? Well, are they undertrained? Are they, do they have inadequate candidates? Are they choosing the wrong people for the job? And I'm implying, obviously, are they DEI hires? Are they there to fill a quota, not because they're the best people for the job? Or is there a shortcoming in the policies and protocols? Does there need to be an update? Maybe these were people who are following the protocol to the letter of the law and they're properly trained. It's just the system sucks. So I don't know. Okay, but then now you're starting to wall off the idea that this could be an inside job, or they could have been compliant or passive.
You know what? That caller that you had before you, he hit on a lot of points that made a lot of sense. And the fact that my Secret Service that protects the president or former president, whatever, did not know what to do at that time is just appalling to me.
Well, I didn't see that. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I saw a Secret Service where their training kicked into action. There were 6 people that jumped on the stage and they made a hexagon around him. And then some other dude comes up, and then when they say the shooter's down or shooter's eliminated or something like that, then they had like a couple of signals like, all right, let's get him up. Let's get him up. Let's get him up. Let's get him up. So they know what they're talking, something about getting him up. So they take him from the turtle position to the stand-up meat shield, and then they walk all together like a rugby scrum down the stairs. So I saw a lot of coordination. I didn't necessarily see a Secret Service that was befuddled at the stage area. Now, clearly they were befuddled when it comes to sweeping the area and make sure the rooftops are clear and catching snipers and whatnot. But let's listen. You want to listen to the audio with me again? I got it right here.
Yes, and I would like to, before you play the audio, I would like to commend that really tall blonde guy that came in and took control of the situation, because that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I hope we know all these people's names at the end of this. Anyway, let's listen to the audio. Hang on.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Oh, there it is. What are we doing? All right, you get credit. Credit goes to Vincent. What are we doing? What are we doing? So do you think that they were lost, or do you think that they just got in the turtle position and they were waiting for the next sign? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like fatal, like they failed, but you're right. What do we do? What are we doing? That was in there.
They were not trained. They were DEI.
Okay, Vincent in Farmersville. That you, I know that's been stirring inside of you. You got a chance to get it out to a few thousand people here in Texas.
Thank you, James.
Thanks for calling in, bud.
I really appreciate that, because that was weighing on my heart heavy.
Yeah, look, that's one of the reasons we decided to go live tonight. This is one of the reasons why WBAP exists, just for outlets like this. Let me squeeze in Mike in Houston. Mike still there?
James, yes, I am. James, thanks for taking my call. I agree with several of your callers. Since day one that Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, but elected, they started the conspiracy on the Russian theory. Cost us $55 million to clear him. They indicted him twice, or they impeached him twice. They've indicted him 3 times. Every time they do it, they're coming after him with full force. And now they know that this guy is going to be president again. He was a quarter inch from dead tonight.
Yes.
They've done everything in their power, and it's beyond belief. I'm not a peace officer. I'm not anything to do with the police officer association in any way, shape, or form. But I can tell you, to allow that man to get on top of that building and take that shot and kill those innocent individuals and attempt to kill President Trump was nothing more than a setup. If at the very least, you think about what they've done. Tucker Carlson said it. He said it exactly. They've come after this man like no other president has ever been attacked. Ever. I'm nearly 65 years old, and never in my life have I ever heard both parties, Republicans and Democrats, come after a president ever the way that they've come after President Trump. And the only reason being, first thing he said when he came in was, we're going to drain the swamp. He already made both sides mad because he's encroaching on what they've had for 50 years minimum. And I keep telling people say, oh, I don't like Trump because of the way that he talks or what he says. I said, listen to one thing. Listen to the economy. Listen to your pocketbook. Listen to what the guy does, not what he says. And the whole thing is, I keep saying, one of my sons, you need to understand this man, he was a businessman. Joe Biden spent 50 years on the taxpayers' payroll. How do you acquire $220,000 a year, and at the end of it, you're worth about $40 million? You tell me, what's happening here. I mean, the bottom line is they would not allow that man to be on top of that building and take that shot at Joe Biden.
Okay, listen, but the evidence shows that at worst, they're not active participants, they're passive participants. Because if this turns out to be true, what's being reported, the suspected shooter is a 20-year-old, and he's from Butler, where it happened. So that tells me he wasn't imported. He's not, because we had this conversation earlier. He's not a foreign state actor. He's probably not some trained CIA assassin. He's not there on the government's behest. But he's
thank God, because President Trump would be dead right now if he was.
Right, because that was a pretty close shot, 130 yards.
He oh my God.
So this
you can pull up and I have a pistol. I have a pistol I can shoot. I probably hit better than that at 100 yards. But the point that I'm making is even if you constantly talk, I think the problem that we're seeing here today is the guy is a threat to democracy. The guy's a threat to democracy. You have constant battering on ABC, NBC, CBS,
yes.
CNN, The View. The guy was loved in New York when he was contributing to the Democrats. The minute he went against the Democrat Party and even against the Republicans, everyone hated him. And he was a Hitler. He's going to be another Hitler.
We got to stop tolerating that. We've got to stop tolerating that. We've got to stop tolerating being called racist, Hitler, Nazi, and look, good. Mike in Houston, he's on it. But the rest of us listening, do what Mike in Houston does. Stop tolerating this. If someone says, look, and not just you, defend other people, defend Trump, defend these other like public figures. Let's start being bigger buttheads about this, because being passive isn't working. This is what being passive got us. This is what being nice. This is what being cordial got us. And thank you, Mike in Houston. And look, I'll tell you, I'll finish up here with what I told my kid this afternoon. It's like the amazing thing about Trump is he doesn't need this. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the notoriety. He doesn't need the fame. Even if he is a megalomaniac, he's already been president. He's already got the money. He's already a billionaire. He's already going to accomplish anything you can accomplish in life. Why is he putting up with this? And then when he even got shot in the ear and he was down on the ground and the blood's coming down his cheek, he had the chance to decide right then, I could just quit. I could just go back to Mar-a-Lago and play golf for the rest of my life and not putting up with attempted assassinations. And what did he do? He got up and he told you to fight. He stopped the Secret Service and he told you to fight 3 times.
1 minute.
That's what Trump did. So you just saw history in the making. I am honored that I get to be a part of it with you. Thank you very much for hanging out as we just parse through history in the making. We found out a lot since we started this live coverage. We found out his name. We found out his age. We found out where he's from. We still don't have a motive. When that comes, hopefully you'll hear it first here on WBAP. And for all the new people, you can catch me during the week on WBAP. I'm on afternoons from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. That's Central Time for all you people who are listening in Wyoming or wherever the heck else. But you can also catch podcasts of our stuff, WBAP app, WBAP.com. That's not what's really important right now. What's really important is that we're getting through all this. The Republican convention starts on Monday. And as far as I'm concerned, the election in November is over. I'm James Parker. This has been special coverage on WBAP.
K20 WBAP AM.
All right.
WBAP FM, Haltom.
That was it.
KPLX FM HD2.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. That was awesome.
Mayo, Fox News. Former President Trump collapsing at a rally in Pennsylvania after being.
All right. You have a good one, man.
See you, bud.
Assassination.
All right. See you.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal.
Stop what? All right, y'all got anything before I get out of here? You stop it, Vicky. All right, I'm out for the night. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of history. That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun, guys. Thanks.